He's been asked 2 questions. He just lost the election. He just lost the election!
Right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
No fucking shit. He didn't even insult him. He didn't have to. Ah! I need a shot of insulin.
We're live from Georgia, a key battleground state in the race for the White House. In just moments, the current U.S. president will debate the former U.S. president as their party's presumptive nominees, a first in American history. We want to welcome our viewers in the United States and around the world to our studios in Atlanta. This is the CNN presidential debate.
This debate is being produced by CNN and is coming to you live on CNN, CNN International, CNN.com, CNN Max, and CNN Espanol. This is a pivotal moment between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump in their rematch for the nation's highest office. Each will make his case to the American people with just over 4 months until Election Day. Good evening, I'm Dana Bash, anchor of CNN's Inside Politics and co-anchor of State of the Union.
I'm Jake Tapper, anchor of CNN's The Lead and co-anchor of State of the Union. Dana and I will co-moderate this evening. Our job is to facilitate a debate between the 2 candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience at home. Former President Trump will be on the left side of the screen. President Biden will be appearing on the right. A coin toss determined their positions. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer a question and 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up clarification or response is at the moderator.
Have I missed it?
When it's time for a candidate.
Okay, no, I haven't. Oh my god. Just trying to get back on time. Hello, if anyone's watching. Looks like no viewers, of course. No surprise there.
To understand for viewers at home. At the end of the debate, each candidate will get 2 minutes for closing statements. There is no studio audience tonight. Pre-written notes, props, or contact with campaign staff are not permitted during the debate. By accepting our invitation to debate, both candidates and their campaigns agreed to...
Maybe let's go into the AOC fan club.
Now, please welcome the 46th President of the United States.
Oh,
Joe
here it
Biden.
is.
Folks, how are you? Great to be here. Thank you.
Well,
And please welcome
no
the
one.
45th President of the United States, Donald Trump.
The apocalypse has begun. They don't even acknowledge each other.
Gentlemen, thanks so much for being here. Let's begin
Wow.
the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say
They don't
is
even
their
look at
top
each other.
concern, the economy.
Biden looked at him. Biden looked at him. But
prices remain
Trump didn't
high.
look the other
Since
way.
you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100
Are you serious,
then
Jake?
now costs more than
Okay, fine.
$120.
Yeah, let's start with some of the
Down more than 30%.
low hanging fruit there.
Under your presidency
Oops,
than
did
they
I
were
just
under
this
President
one?
Trump.
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president. What Mr. Trump left me.
Oh
We
boy,
had an economy
great
that was
start.
in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done.
He had time to clear his throat before he came on stage.
I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come from a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things.
I can't
That's why I'm
hear
working
you,
so hard to
sir.
make sure I deal with those problems.
I have to get my
And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things back together. We created, I said, those jobs. We make sure we had a situation.
Rambling. Still no one here?
We brought down the price of prescription
Unbelievable.
drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for
Oh, God. Biden.
as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200.
Why didn't you
for
take
any
the fucking
drug-
Adderall?
Drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans.
You're making my eye
we're working to
twitch,
bring down the
sir.
price around the kitchen table.
Oh shit,
And that's
you
what
really
we're
are.
gonna do.
Like that's, I get
Thank
these
you, President Trump.
spasms sometimes
We
when I
have
get
the greatest
annoyed with
economy
people.
in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce-back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you, President Biden.
Okay,
Well, it's
concise.
the greatest economy in the world. He's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we found ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, you know, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still found ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can. You
Am I
want
allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do
Well, I
whatever
mean,
you
you
want with
have
the minute that we give
IDF
you.
troops
I want to
that
follow
you
up.
sent
want
to
impose
war.
a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cost countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all
China?
fairness.
We got a China here. We got a China.
Pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things.
Give me one more China.
He made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation cut in history. That's why we had all the jobs. And the jobs went down, and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No, he inherited almost no inflation, and it stayed that way for 14 months, and then it blew up under his leadership because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing. It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. There's never been. And as far as Afghanistan is concerned, I was getting out of Afghanistan, but we were getting out with dignity, with strength, with power. He got out. It was the most embarrassing day in the history of our country's life.
Yeah.
President Trump, over the last
Well,
8 years,
I don't know
under
about
both
that,
of your
but
administrations, the national
was
debt
embarrassing.
soared to record highs. And according to a new nonpartisan analysis, President Trump, your administration approved $8.4 trillion in new debt. Well, so far, President Biden, you've
Still no one
approved
here, huh?
$4.3
Wow, I'm
trillion
so popular.
in new debt. So, former President Trump, many
I
of the
really
tax
gotta
cuts that
transition.
you signed into law are set to expire next year. You want to extend them and go even further, you say. With the U.S. facing trillion-dollar deficits and record debt, why should top earners and corporations pay even less in taxes than they do now?
Because the tax cuts spurred the greatest economy that we've ever seen just prior to COVID. And even after COVID, it was so strong that we were able to get through COVID much better than just about any other country. But we spurred, that tax spurred. Now, when we cut the taxes, as an example, the corporate tax was cut down to 21% from 39%, plus beyond that. We took in more revenue with much less tax, and companies were bringing back trillions of dollars back into our country. The country was going like never before. And we were ready to start paying down debt. We were ready to start using the liquid gold right under our feet, the oil and gas
now he's
right under our feet.
talking
we were
about
going to have
two different
something that
issues.
nobody else has had. We got hit with COVID. We
Okay,
did a
three
lot
issues.
to fix it. I gave him an unbelievable situation with all of the therapeutics and all of the things that we came up with.
Okay, we're talking about
we
COVID.
gave him something great. Remember, more people died under his administration, even though we had largely fixed it. More people died under his administration
we lost 1 million people with
than our
COVID.
administration, and we were right in the middle of it, something which a lot of people don't like to talk about.
What?
But he had far more people
it's not true.
dying in his administration. He did the mandate, which is a disaster, mandating it. The vaccine went out. He did a mandate on the vaccine, which is the thing that people most objected to about the vaccine. And he did a very poor job, just a very poor job. And I will tell you, not only poor there, but throughout the entire world, we're no longer respected as a country. They don't respect our leadership.
He
kind of
reminds me of Han Solo.
We're like a third world nation
Biden.
between weaponization of his election, trying
Like
to
just
go after his
before
political opponent.
croaking.
All of the things he's done, we've become like a third world nation, and it's a shame. The damage he's done to our country. And I'd love to ask him, and will, why he allowed millions of people to come in here from prisons, jails, and mental institutions to come into our country and destroy our country.
President Trump, we will get to immigration later in this block. President Biden, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to this question about the national debt.
He had the largest national debt of any president in a 4-year period, number one. Number two, he got $2 trillion tax cut, benefited the very wealthy. What I'm going to do is fix the tax system. For example, we have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America. And what's happening? They're in a situation where they, in fact, pay 8.2% in taxes. If they just paid 24%, 25%, either one of those numbers, they'd raise $500 million, billion dollars, I should say, in a 10-year period. We'd be able to wipe out his debt. We'd be able to help make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person
climate change. Oh my God!
Dealing with
this guy.
Look, if we finally beat Medicare,
that's it.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
Oh, it's over. No, he lost his train of thought. He's a disaster.
Yeah. We finally beat Medicare.
It's a...
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare because all of these people are coming in. They're putting them on Medicare. They're putting them on Social Security. They're going to destroy Social Security. This man is going to single-handedly destroy Social Security.
He's just falling apart.
Of people coming in. They're trying to put them on Social Security. He will wipe out Social Security. He will wipe out Medicare. So he was right in the way he finished that sentence, and it's a shame. What's happened to our country in the last 4 years is not to be believed. Foreign countries, I'm friends with a lot of people, they cannot believe what happened to the United States.
He just lost the election. He's been asked 2 questions. He just lost the election.
They think we're stupid. They think we're very stupid people. What we're doing for other countries, and the
way Trump just picked it up right now was expert. He didn't even insult him. He didn't have to.
President Trump. Dana?
This is the since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. This morning, the court ruled on yet another abortion case, temporarily allowing emergency abortions to continue in Idaho.
He just lost the election!
Former President Trump, you take credit for the decision to overturn Roe v. Wade, which returned the issue of abortion to the states.
Correct.
However, the federal government still plays a role.
Oh my God!
To abortion pills. They're used
Give him something!
About 2/3 of all abortions. As president, would you block
fucking
medication?
First of all, the Supreme Court.
He needs to snort some fucking cocaine.
And I agree with their decision to have done that. And I will not
Adderall's not gonna help. He
If
needs
you
to
look at
he needs
this
to go
whole
big.
question that you're asking,
Or go home, Biden.
complex. 51
Bye,
years
Don.
ago, you had Roe v. Wade, and everybody wanted to get it back to the states. Everybody, without exception. Democrats, Republicans, liberals,
Fucking
conservatives.
moron!
Everybody wanted it back.
Look,
Religious leaders.
he's
And
given
what I
up.
did is I put 3 great Supreme Court justices on the court, and they happened to vote in favor of killing Roe v. Wade and moving it back to the states. This is something that everybody wanted. Now, 10 years ago or so, they started talking about how many weeks and how many this, getting into other things. But every legal scholar throughout the world, the most respected, wanted it brought back to the states. I did that. Now the states are working it out. If you look at Ohio, it was a decision that was an end result. It was a little bit more liberal than you would have thought. Kansas, I would say the same thing. Texas is different. Florida is different. But they're all making their own decisions right now.
You can't argue it now, man.
The states control it. That's the vote of the people. Like Ronald Reagan, I believe
Trump
in the
is like
exceptions. I
actually
am a
fucking
person that
talking.
believes. And frankly, I think it's important to believe in the exceptions. Some people, you have to follow your heart. Some people don't believe in that. But I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. I think it's very important. Some people don't. Follow your heart. But you have to get elected also. And because that has to do with other things. You gotta get elected. The problem they have is they're radical because they will take the life of a child in the 8th month, the 9th month, and even after birth. After birth, if you look at the former governor of Virginia, he was willing to do this. He said, we'll put the baby aside and we'll determine what we do with the baby, meaning we'll kill the baby. What happened is we brought it back to the states, and the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing, what you've done. The fact is that the vast majority of constitutional scholars supported Roe when it was decided. Supported Roe. And that's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states. Let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women who have been, including a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. The idea that she was murdered by an immigrant coming in, they talk about that. But here's the deal: there's a lot of young women are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses, brothers and sisters, it's just ridiculous. Okay. And they can do nothing about it. And they try to arrest them when they cross state lines.
Thank you.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. Considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world.
Like a fucking moron,
and he
but
opened it
still
up,
at
and
least
these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it's now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing
He's
it back
so
to the
white.
vote of the
I mean,
people,
you can
which
see
is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought
That
back.
bronzer actually looks pretty good. I feel like he's finally gotten the right combination or mixture of viscosity.
I was the one to do it, and again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states.
I put a new screen on it too. I waited until I got a new screen before I put it on.
Have no legal
Love it.
restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should
It's
be
from
able to
Pally
terminate a
Roots.
I
pregnancy?
support Roe v. Wade.
As is that, which I will put up outside so that it can wave, because I have like traffic that passes by my house, unfortunately, in the back. So it's gonna have probably 5,000 pairs of eyes on it a day. And I bought a little flagpole. I realized I didn't have a flagpole. And Amazon sent it in like 8 hours. It was nuts. Say what you will about Amazon. It's a horrible company, but like it still is providing an incredible fucking service. I got a flagpole from a website in like. Anyway, let's get back to this.
Willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and
What?
kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen. Democrat or Republican, nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not
Oh,
true.
there's a finch.
The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only a woman's life is in danger. She's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period.
In Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion.
My daughter and I were
You
watching.
can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You
It was
can do whatever
raining,
you
so it
want.
was getting a little
We
bad.
don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical
Put those
thing.
windows
We
in.
think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
Put that big window
51
in
years,
there.
that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court.
I thought it was
Takes credit
49
for
years.
taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do? In fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdened
It wasn't
cities
as
such
bad
as New York
as
and
Mitch
Chicago, and in some
McConnell
cases causing
for
real
free,
safety and
so-
security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where you had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation
It's not the right
where
way to go.
40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. That's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look,
Ooh.
we had the safest border in the history of our
Finally
country.
took a shot.
The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it.
I thought
He
it was
decided
fine
to
when he
open
said,
up our
just so you
border,
know.
open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere. All over the world they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open.
He
and
left
he didn't
it
need
open.
legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him.
Brandon?
But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it.
Random?
And people are
No, it
dying
says
all over the
random.
place,
I'm watching
including the
the
people that are coming
closed
up
caption.
in
President
character.
Trump.
It said
President
random.
Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything crossing the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed an Al-Qaeda person come in and his administration.
What?
Kill 3 American soldiers. Kill 3 American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you've said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades?
I'm
and
going
if
to
so,
do. I'm
how
going to
will you
make
do it?
everybody
Just
happy.
1 second. He said we
I'm going to
killed
have
people.
all of the immigrants are
People
going to
we
vote for
killed,
Trump.
al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the 2 greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on
Not just
everything.
border.
He's the one that killed people with the bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying, and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, and every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because
We
of
don't
his
have borders
ridiculous,
anymore. Every
insane,
state
very
is now a
stupid
border.
policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a
Killing.
level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before.
I still have
And
no
you're
viewers?
reading
Wow.
it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days.
Maybe I can
One of them that
save
just spoke to
these
the
and make a
mother.
video.
And you just had the funeral.
Never
for
done
this
that
girl,
before.
12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all.
In New York City? Because you dumped them in New York City?
I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved, choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day in America.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie.
Why would he go over time just to say that bullshit?
Veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act. 1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma. I was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, he's not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
Okay.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing.
I don't think he was quoting anything.
He made that up. He put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said it and said, and think of this. Who would say, I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. There's nobody.
So is Trump saying he's never said that military guys are
in front of generals
not
and others?
suckers and losers? Yeah, you said it.
People.
You said it about McCain.
It was made up by him, just like
Russia, if you're listening, Russia, I hope you can find.
With the 16 economists are talking, it's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. And they now are their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in the
Okay.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its third year. Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call it.
How does he know that?
We've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them. And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin, he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he said he should have fired those generals like they fired. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers and 38 soldiers.
Beautiful soldiers. They were beautiful.
We left people behind, too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take my... This was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine. Never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded.
Is there an argument there?
You know what?
That Putin invaded because he knew that the United States was going to be a bitch?
They had a lot of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything.
He might be right.
That's why you had no terror.
He's proving he's a bitch in Israel right now.
This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it. Recently, not when he was president. They attacked. He said they just haven't had it.
It was like a rocket launch or something.
They didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that airlift. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where, if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. Listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish. Kyiv, and he in fact didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done, and they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
President Trump,
I never
come back
said
to you
that.
for 1 minute. I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
Acceptable. No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled.
Well, then let him join the EU, and then the EU can take care of it.
Before I take office on January 20th.
Let him join NATO.
People being killed so needlessly, so stupidly, and I will get it settled, and I'll get it settled fast before I take office.
President Biden, you have a minute.
The fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear.
Are they member of the
He wants
EU?
to reestablish what is part of the Soviet Empire. Not just a piece, he wants all of Ukraine.
Is UK
That's what he wants. And then do you think he'll stop there?
Yeah,
You think he'll stop when he
Is
takes
Ukraine
What do you think
a
happens
member
to
of the EU?
What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you
Not a
go to
member.
war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released the remaining hostages, and Israel is continuing its military offensive in Gaza. So what additional leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas, number one. They're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding the only thing I've denied Israel was
He's fucking lying.
bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so there are 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence people as to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for using certain weapons among population centers.
Okay.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent $100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any. They were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was paid by us. He didn't do that. He's getting all. You got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden,
What?
a minute.
I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO. The idea that we have...
He just answered a question from like 3 different perspectives.
It may be a big ocean, but were we ever able to avoid a war in
In one sentence.
Or in Europe? What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on one is attack on all. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go
This
ahead.
is-
Let Putin go in and control Ukraine. And then
He's already avoided the subject. Both of them have managed to avoid the subject.
talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that
This is gonna continue forever. It's gonna go on indefinitely until there are no Palestinians left in Gaza, in the West Bank, in East Jerusalem. They're all going to die.
Do that. The problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade.
You vote for either one. You vote for third party. You split the vote between the 2 of them.
Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, they don't want anything that we have. But we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture.
Either way you vote for genocide.
But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this. I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question. Would you guard us against Russia at a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time? And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. After you rallied supporters, some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. What happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say, but she's saying, oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. Because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard, and she turned them down. And the mayor in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down, the mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see, I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it, too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter. Because she said, I take full responsibility for January 6th.
President Biden?
Look, he encouraged those folks to go up on Capitol Hill, number one. I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no. But he went to every single court.
I'm still at 0 viewers.
I don't know how many cases. Scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they
Sorry, I don't have a pair of tits.
This guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be.
For nothing I say matters.
And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there, with the fires all over the city. If I didn't bring in the National Guard, that city would have been destroyed. When you look at all of they took over big chunks of Seattle. I was all set to bring in the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately. What he said about this whole subject is so off. Peacefully patriotic. One other thing. The unselected committee.
My God, still doing that.
Two horrible Republicans that are all
Adam Schiff.
out of office.
Shifty
All
Schiff.
Democrats. They
Jerry Nad.
and deleted
I don't know, maybe he was in the
information
second.
they found because they found out we were right. We were right. and they deleted and destroyed all of the information. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to
No
jail.
idea what you're talking about.
President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon. Is the man.
You're blaming your impeachment on him?
And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, just turned over desks, turned them over statues. The idea that those people are patriots, come on. When I asked him the first two debates we had, the debates we had first time around, I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? Will you denounce the people we're talking about now?
It's Ryan Slater at 7:40 something.
What are you going to do?
On the 27th, I think.
I'm going to give you a minute for President Trump for a follow-up question I have. After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you feeling you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon.
I am your
His son is
retribution.
convicted. He's going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo.
I haven't heard him say that in a
I'm not
while.
going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor, having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. You want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous. It's simply a lie, number one. Number two, the idea that you have a right to seek retribution against any American just because you're president is wrong. It's simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with.
Now you're going to give him a minute to talk.
How many millions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in public, for doing a whole range of things, of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was pregnant? I mean, what are you talking about?
Great, Biden.
Great.
Great.
I didn't have sex with a porn star, number one. Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a high-ranking...
I mean, I don't know how you're going to get that little mushroom in anything, but I know you tried. Oh, shit.
We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil and the criminal. He basically went after his political opponent because...
How much money is Eugene Carroll getting?
Found out about these cases because they understand it better than he does. He has no idea what these cases are. But when he...
Why didn't he just shut up? You're just going to let him fucking get... You're going to get more airtime.
And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any...
You got your little jab, your little he fucking cheated on his pregnant wife jab. Great, Biden. Great.
And it's a guy that's after his political opponent.
That was the best you got. He worked on that for 2 weeks.
You have said, quote, Donald Trump and his MAGA Republicans are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans to vote for President Trump will be voting?
I guarantee you, he won't hit Trump with anything as hard as that.
What he's done, and there's a lot more coming. He's got a lot of cases on.
Guarantee you.
He's got a whole range of issues he has to face. I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem. And so the fact that, could you ever think you heard any president say that I'm going to seek retribution? you ever hear any presidents say that I thought Hitler had some good ideas? What got me involved to run in the first place after my son had died, I decided in Iraq, because of Iraq, I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in Charlottesville, Virginia.
Yeah, you got him, man. He's an asshole.
Torture.
So are you.
The same anti-Semitic bile they sang when back in June. I spoke to the mother, and they asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say?
Oh my God!
Nazis coming out of fields carrying torches, singing the same.
You've already said this. You said this in 2020, and you think that's gonna help you win a second time?
He's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. The good things Hitler's done. That's what he said. He said there makes no sense for American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that story's been totally wiped out. Because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration of the last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it.
I do know it, sir.
His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see.
You haven't debated Gaza yet. You haven't said shit about it. You haven't said fuck all.
Has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that, and he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
President Biden.
And debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen
Man,
to it
I mean, like,
and the idea that somehow
if this is all you fucking care about, if this is the answer you were waiting for,
they were good people coming out.
Sorry, that's the best you're gonna get.
Those woods, carrying those torches. Then he
A wishy-washy answer out of both of them. I frankly don't give a fuck what they have to say from now
All
on.
this being fabricated. We saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th. We saw the people breaking through the windows. We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44 top...
See, the reason why I said it's more impactful to just fuck... If you're a Republican, you know what? If you're a Republican and you hate these motherfuckers as much as I do,
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be...
you vote for Biden, I'll vote for Trump. That'll fuck with the people who are looking at the voter registration. They're gonna be like, what? Oh, there's a fucking commercial break. That's hilarious. CNN, you are garbage. You are garbage. You're the worst. CNN. You're the worst.
ZipRecruiter helped us hire qualified candidates.
Fucking Mediasan, you could have picked him up.
Yesterday, we posted a job on ZipRecruiter.
Jesus Christ.
5 days. He was qualified in every way. ZipRecruiter
Pathetic.
best candidates for all our jobs. They helped us build a dream team, and we did it fast.
Only thing you did that was smart was firing Don fucking dipshit Lemon.
In the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/hire.
Sometimes I imagine what I write today for my dear friend Martin. I remind people that all hate thrives on one thing: silence. The people who will change the nation are those who speak
No
out, who
Muslims.
refuse to be
Oh,
bystanders,
okay.
who raise their voices
Oh,
against
stand up to
injustice.
Jewish
When
hate,
we
okay.
stand up to silence,
Stand
we
up to
stand
Jews.
up to all hate.
Oh, God. Oh, oh, man. They just did an All Lives Matter shit. What was that bullshit that I just watched? What was that? It was like a bank commercial? They just fucking said... That's hilarious. They started with fucking Muslim stuff. Okay, good start. They didn't acknowledge it at the end, though. They only said we gotta fucking stop the anti-Jew hate.
Take control of your health.
Maybe we're
Your force field.
getting there, sort of.
You can listen to your body's
Maybe.
signals and raise your defenses. Aura tells
A
you
ring.
the temperature is higher than normal. How
This is a smart ring commercial. When I saw this, I think maybe I read about it online or something, and I just remember thinking that is the silliest idea. I mean, I guess could be cool to like save your credit card information and stuff, you know. And you could just tap your ring.
All elections are created equal. Some are much worse than others.
Comedy Central's The Daily Show, weeknights on Comedy Central, and next day on Paramount Plus.
It was a nice looking ring, by the way.
You know what you must do.
I want revenge.
Game of Thrones. Oh, it's like a prequel or something. Oh, that's hilarious. Still haven't completed a single episode of Game of Thrones myself. I still have 0. Wow. Among my 1,000 friends, not one person bothered to say hello. I think like 10 or 15 are dead though.
Welcome back to CNN.
985 friends.
Georgia. Let's talk about the specific challenges you both faced in the first term.
Hilarious, as usual.
President Biden. While black unemployment dropped to a record low under your presidency, black families still earn far less than white families. Black mothers are still 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes, and black Americans are imprisoned at 5 times the rate of white Americans. What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that you haven't made more progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is there are more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. Number three, we're providing housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporations that collude to keep people out of their houses. And in addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to child care is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black child care costs. I cut them in half. We got to make sure we provide for child care costs. We got to make sure, because when you provide those child care protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done, considerably more to be done. But
you didn't answer the question. The question was about black women giving birth, dying at higher rates.
You are disappointed with the progress so far.
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed.
Okay.
Badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family, first-time home buyer, should get a $10,000 tax credit to be able to buy their first home so they can get started. I made sure that we're in a situation where all those black families and those black individuals who had to take out student loans that were ballooning, that if they were engaged in nursing, doctor, and anything having to do with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years.
What? How many people are going to be paying 10,000? They'd have to be middle income.
All the rest is forgiven after 10 years. Millions of benefits from that.
To even have that taxable amount, $10,000. Most people aren't paying $10,000 who are low income.
It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation.
No, you dropped the interest rates to 0. That's what created a bubble.
is the billions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking
Exactly as I was saying in 2019.
On the black people.
It was fun though.
Billions of people that he's allowed to come in through the
As a
border.
realtor, it was fun.
You haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its own. 50% unemployment. He decimated the economy, absolutely decimated the economy. That's why there was no inflation at the time. There were no jobs. We provided thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities. We made sure that they have health insurance. We have covered, the ACA has increased. I made sure that there are $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care. But this guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times. He wants to get rid of the ACA again, and they're going to try again if they win. You find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing any, we put more police on the street than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it.
You know, the whole thing with Dana Barrett giving him 49 more seconds. These people always run over. And he's being asked to fucking say something about the black community. He's got fucking nothing to say. Sir, you got 49 more seconds.
Wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising sea levels.
Oh, climate change. Here's another thing you're not going to give a fuck about. Neither one of you. I'm going to fucking drive us over the cliff. I'm going to fucking crash us into a wall.
Said about the police, how close the police are to it.
Nope.
Every police group in the nation from every state is supporting
Jen-
Donald J. Trump. Almost
Janet
every
J.
police
Shrimp.
group.
And what he's done to the black population is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't in the 1990s.
What? This is guy coming from Central Park 5?
And now they see it happening.
You are a funny man. You are a funny man.
And for the historic
This guy.
Colleges and universities where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim was incredible. He did a great job. Great senator.
What the fuck are you talking about?
The idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country. Opportunity.
I already forgot what the question was.
The beneficiary are blacks, and that's why
Climate change, right?
With them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever the best numbers.
So I guess this is the one subject where Biden is slightly better.
He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You've 38 seconds left. President Trump, will you take any action as president to slow the climate?
The answer was no.
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my
Okay, that was one answer. What does that mean? What does that mean?
That's the most extensive.
Well,
most extensive climate change.
wait, what? Okay.
We find ourselves in black colleges.
So some climate change scientists talked to him before he came on the stage, and he ended up talking about black people when asked about it.
Build these laboratories and the like.
Oh, now he's talking about, okay, going back to black people. Okay.
A student can do. They just have the money.
So neither one of them want to talk about climate change.
We're in a situation where the idea that he is.
I want clean water. I want the freshest air.
Cleanest water? He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. And the Paris Peace Accord, climate accord, I immediately joined it because if we reach 1.5 degrees Celsius at any one point, there's no way back. The only existential threat to humanity is climate change. And he didn't do a damn thing about it. He wants to undo all that I've done.
The Paris Accord was going to cost us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing. It was a ripoff of the United States. And I ended it because I didn't want to waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money.
What?
Nobody else was paying into it. And it was
No one was doing it.
everything that he said just now. I'll give you an example. I heard him
No
say,
one.
I'm the one that got the insulin down.
No one was insulin now.
What he's doing is destroying all our medical programs.
Insulin.
They want everybody.
I need a shot of insulin.
stage, I guarantee you that. And I want
I need a shot of
They're
insulin.
taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
The idea is that
What are they talking about? They need the audience back.
we're not.
Can you imagine the audience, a live audience, when fucking Biden's like brain farts?
Taking control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people who will learn how to deal with climate, just like the Peace Corps. And we're moving in directions that are going to significantly change the elements of cause of pollution. But the idea that he claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution and about climate, I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to prescription drugs, one company agreed that they would reduce the price to $35, which I was calling for, one, voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way,
So every day, millions of Americans struggle just to make ends meet. For many older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done to Social Security, seniors will see their benefits cut in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're going to, I've been proposing that everybody, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under $400,000. After that, I began to make the wealthy begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any other measures that you think that would be able to help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing will do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, both times. And and if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that I believe supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, you're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where I talk about education for black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants by another $8,000. So anybody making under $70,000 a year is going to be able to get $15,000 toward their tuition. He just doesn't know what he's talking about.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump.
So I've dealt with politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last 8 years. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things, too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. the losers and sucker story that he made up.
Oh, David Pakman's loving this bit. I guarantee you David Pakman's like eating this up, jerking off right now.
Millions of people are pouring into our country, and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid.
You're both fucking liars, both of you. Fuck you, fuck you.
What they're doing to the VA, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President.
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. And by the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one who's acknowledged that that's...
Okay, great. Is that where you're trying to get,
number one. Number
pick
two,
up your line from earlier?
We're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates he talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession. And inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care, which many American families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden address this issue. But the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000.
So I had my kid one night a week. I get her.
2 children is more than
only get every other weekend.
In your second term, what will we do to make child care more?
I was hoping. I mean, they kind of did, you know, before I dropped her off. She loves these mashed potato French fries.
And they're very highly respected, much more so than him.
With faces on them. They're pretty good.
He doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey.
And this is that spicy barbecue sauce that you like.
I drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put them there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him.
Drugs.
This guy wasn't fired me. He should have fired
Love it.
every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show. The most embarrassing moment in the history of our country.
This is pretty good too.
Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prisons, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal.
Want to look at my turtle? I think that'd be more fun.
This much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up
I'm gonna take a turtle break.
as voters. And I don't think
we
just can't let it happen. If he wins this election,
So I think I finally have a contractor coming to fix this fountain in the next couple of days. I cannot get work. Look at my page.
He's the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden.
It's so hard to hire New Mexican contractors.
There's nothing beyond their capacity.
Oh, there, yep. Sorry, lady. Oh my God, there's 2 of them. I didn't know they were doing that. I'll cover you later. Wow. Oops. I hope I didn't just turn it off. So that's Rex. And that's Flamingo. Flamingo is the mom.
Worst president in American history. One for best to worst. They said he was the worst in all
Hey, buddy.
American history.
He's such a brat.
That's a fact.
I finally had to kick him out because he kept pooping behind the fridge.
That's what they voted. The idea that he is doing anything.
He was living inside the house for like close to 2 weeks. Yeah, buddy, I'm sorry. You wanted more?
We should significantly increase the child care tax credit. We should significantly increase the availability of women and men,
mister.
single parents. To
And
be
yeah,
able to
so
go back to
it's
work,
their kids.
and we should
And then
encourage
there's
businesses
Domingo,
to have
who
President Trump, the question was about
Domingo
what
2
we do
actually.
to make child care more affordable. If you want to comment.
Just so you understand, we have other things that they rape us because what he's done is so bad. And they rape me. I'll show you. I will show you.
Domingo's somewhere else. Let's see where he is.
And if I'm given another 4
Oh, my
years,
house is
I
a
will
mess.
be the best.
Oh, but look
I
at
think
my
I'll be
grapes.
the best. Nobody's ever
Grapes.
created
Would you
an
like
economy
some
like
grapes?
us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us.
That's what's his name, Tom Green.
Raise your taxes by 4 times. He
I
wants
think
to
in
raise
the
everybody's
Tokyo
taxes
Subway
by
Monkey
4
Hour.
times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of
Nope.
you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times.
Babies are so hard to find.
All my life, I grow up and I
My
see
daughter still
politicians
hasn't
talking about
seen
cutting
them yet.
taxes.
I'm so
When we cut
upset that
taxes,
she
as I
hasn't seen them in
said,
person.
We did more business. Apple and all these
Whoa,
companies.
shit!
They were bringing money back
The
into
bees
our
like
country.
those.
The worst president
I
in
need to get the
history by
gardener
far,
out.
and everybody knows it.
President Biden.
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead
Trumpet
wrong
vines.
about-
These are what
he's
killed
increased
one of my
the
reptiles.
He will increase the taxes on middle class people.
Oh,
I
sleep.
said I'd never raise a tax on anybody
She
who
was
makes
so
less than
cute.
$400,000. I didn't. This tariff is 10%
Well,
tariff.
I don't know where
Everything
Domingo is.
coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American.
Ugh. And I'm breeding mosquitoes
$2,500
because of this fucking
a year
fountain.
more, because they're going to have to pay the difference
Busted ass
in
fountain.
food and all things.
In Sandia.
He's in a
So I'm thinking I'll put my
situation
flag
where he
there.
talks about how he
Or
has not raised-
here.
he's somehow
I couldn't
helped
tell
the
exactly
middle
where I
class.
get the most
They're
eyes
definitely
from.
devastated by it.
So-
Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years.
I don't have a ladder.
Which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country.
So I have to
We
climb
the
over
largest
this
deficit
thing.
of any president in American history.
It's not going to be a
Number one.
quick
Number
job.
two, we have not, in fact, made any contact, any
Let's get back to this shit show.
lowest trade balance in China since 2000.
Oh, they're talking about China again?
Thank you, President. Thank you, President Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans. Both of you have made it a top priority in your first
Good break.
crisis. For both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it has gone up. President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country.
Oh my God. That's why I didn't need to worry about the turtles, because he's going to talk and say more stuff.
He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something.
He gets money.
But do you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money.
He didn't?
It's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to
Industries. Why does he say that? Industries.
tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit.
I've never noticed any of those parody people pick up the fact that he says industry.
Situation with China. China's going
China?
if you keep allowing them.
They pick up the China, of course, but never industry. He always does that. Industry. Watch from now on. Anytime you see him, say industry.
Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before.
Really?
Everywhere.
In every way.
We had to be tough.
In every single way.
Where it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible thing that you've ever seen, the way they can spot it. We did a lot, and we were getting very low numbers. Then he came along. The numbers, have you seen the numbers?
No, I haven't.
It's people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways. But the numbers of the amount of drugs and human trafficking in women coming across our border, the worst thing I've ever seen, at numbers that nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad. But the number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and the byproducts of fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of all the people at the border. And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues, said, don't do it. It's going to hurt me politically. No, he never argued it's not a good bill. It's a really good bill. We need those machines. We need those machines. And we're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl.
You open yourself up for that one, Trump.
They don't have the technology to be able to put it together. That's what we have to do. We need those machines.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction right now, struggling to get the treatment they need.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here.
Still zero. That's hilarious. Wow.
It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for a hostage. Every time we say it's a hostage. Now we have
I'm transgender now.
I think a good guy.
Maybe that'll give me some views.
Because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago, but Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's get to the concerns
What
that
the
the voters have
fuck?
about each of you.
Man.
President, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
Well, first of all, I spent half my career being criticized being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years younger and a lot less competent. I think that just look at the record. Look at what I've done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million new jobs, 800,000 manufacturing jobs, more investment in America, over billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. The whole idea of computer chips. We used to have 40% of the market. We invented those chips, and we lost it because he was sending people to find the cheapest jobs overseas and to bring home a product. So I went to South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars here in the United States, and guess what? Those fabs they call to build these chips. Those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them, and there's billions. About $40 billion already being invested and being built right now.
What does this have to do with your age?
And jobs for Americans all over.
What does this have to do with your age?
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left.
What does this have to do with your age?
The idea that somehow we are this failing country.
Age?
We're the envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems.
China.
We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things
India.
done. We're the strongest country in the
Japan,
world.
for
We're
sure.
the country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody.
Canada.
All of our allies.
Canada's 100% yes.
And our
Sweden, Norway, Netherlands. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you
Even
say?
fucking Ukraine would probably not want to switch places with the United States.
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them. Both of them.
He aced them. He correctly identified a hip hop opotamus.
Through the first 5 questions, he couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, we knocked I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel
He's sweating.
But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them.
Ace.
Damn. When he was White House stuff, and then I took another
Ace how do you ace a cognitive test? I just took 4. No, I think that's 215.
Why exactly? Be more constructive with your feedback, please. Why? I got my
Driving contest.
I told you I'm happy to play golf. Carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Who's the motherfucker?
They're gonna play golf?
Swing, I know you swing. Let's not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to
Let's not act like children.
a specific concern that voters have about you. Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted,
No.
you will accept
No, they
the
won't.
results of this election?
Neither one of them will. Neither one.
You will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter...
But when you have an election that is stolen from the people...
It's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to.
Oh, wow. That's saying something, because you know how big his crowds are.
People that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is... if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody.
Wait, so is it the mayor's fault or is it Nancy Pelosi's fault?
Because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself.
No, you're gonna be like me on fucking house arrest, sir. Say that? House arrest.
Because I was.
I have a sock around it so it doesn't bang into my fucking ankle. It hurts.
I wouldn't be.
That's you, motherfucker. You're next.
The only reason I'm here is he's so.
You need a cellmate, motherfucker.
Great again. We're gonna make.
I hate fucking Florida.
We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation.
Sounds like fucking jail already.
His policies are so bad. His military policies are insane. They're insane.
I do want to see some fucking alligators, though.
He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there.
Yes, he is.
And President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman.
Netanyahu certainly doesn't.
World War III.
You want a World War III, let him follow and win, and let Putin say, do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want.
You just let him win, sir. You let him win. Don't you fucking blame it on anyone but yourself, you lazy, ignorant, stubborn, fucking genocidal maniac.
They've done. Because
you!
We have wonderful peace because of the people. Not me, it's because of the American people.
Yeah, it's because of the people. It's always someone else's fault. Fucking neoliberals are always fucking blaming everyone but themselves. Blaming the fucking voters. Blaming the fucking Bernie bros. Maybe it's because you suck, sir.
And other places along that border.
Ever heard the word introspection?
As I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins?
Just to finish.
If it's a clean election, I want clean it.
They took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and
Obama.
They took no land, nothing from Trump. Nothing. He knew not to do it.
That's true.
Play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well.
They did take Crimea under Obama.
The whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with, he's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia. Because you can't say that anymore.
What was the question?
Until such time.
They've taken the chyron away for the question. They usually leave the question up. I noticed that later. But now they've taken it away, I think, because there's neither one are going to answer the question. So there's no moderation.
President Trump, the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
The answer is Russia.
Fair and legal and good election.
There, finally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous.
There was no fraud.
News conference on it in a week.
Jake will back up on that one. Dana will back up on... No, neither one will.
Absolutely. There's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to...
Dana's not going to fucking call out his lie.
Again. I wasn't really...
Oh, CNN, man.
Until I saw the horrible job.
You guys are trash.
I would be very happy to be someplace else in a nice location.
Fucking Biden's wondering. I mean, is he even wondering? Is he just realizing he's lost the fucking election? But like, I was hoping Biden was wondering why they're not going to fucking fact check him.
Let's see what your numbers are when this election is
But
over.
I guess not. They're not.
Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued.
You're gonna fucking whine like crazy when you lose, motherfucker. He's gonna whine like crazy. He's gonna blame every fucking Muslim in Michigan.
None. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner.
He's such a whiner. He's a whiny baby.
You can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
What was that smirk? That was good. I liked that. I did appreciate that smirk. Have I still got 0? 0. Istanbul. Istanbul loves Trump. That's how the Turks spell turkey? Turkey, yeah? Interesting. Istanbul is the new cool. I don't know about that, but okay. I would love to go.
Diverse terrain and roads across the world. With Kumho Tire, that has conquered all. There is no road you cannot go. Go with Kumho. Kumho Tire. Over 1 million people have put
The fact that there's fucking commercials.
supplements to the test, and the numbers tell the story. We have over 80,000 5-star ratings and reviews.
Oh.
We're trusted by over 120 pro and college sports teams. Super Beats is the #1 selling beef brand.
Am I getting targeted ads?
Pharmacists and cardiologist recommended beef brand for heart health support. See why we've won the hearts of people across America and get a free month supply on all.
Shit, I just realized I'm gonna have to like cut the I was hoping I could just sort of throw the two together when I upload it to YouTube later, but I guess I'm gonna have to stop the debates, which is gonna, well, it won't take me too long.
With a stable economic proposition, it has cultivated an environment for early-stage businesses.
I suppose I could just cut this out, but either way I have to fucking now look for it, which sucks. Well, I'll make a sign. Here's a
regulatory framework.
A commercial sign for me to, because I don't have a slate.
A diverse and competitive investment destination, where the promise of green city initiatives and accelerated financial growth will continue to draw venture capital from across the globe. Dubai, where innovation meets investment.
This is honestly one of the worst debates I've ever seen in my life.
This election season, stay with CNN. With more reporters on the ground and the best political team in the business. Follow the voters.
It's almost like Jake and Dana are
like their hands are tied. Like they know that they're going to be scrutinized no matter what they say. So it would be nice if they actually took some bold moves. They should certainly be calling bullshit when there's clearly bullshit. There's no moderation. Was that a rule that there's no moderation? Just they're going to call time and ask questions? Pathetic. Pathetic that we can't even fucking have an honest debate anymore.
The UK heads to the polls. A crucial election. CNN covers all the angles. Who will win the keys to number 10? It's the race to run the UK. Follow CNN.
Oh, that's a fucking shit show too. Did you watch the new John Oliver?
I'm Michael Robbins in Havana, Cuba, and this is CNN.
Tory party.
It is now time for the candidates to deliver
Fucking shit up.
statements as predetermined by a coin toss. We're going to begin with you, President Biden. You have 2 minutes.
These are closing statements?
We've made significant progress from the debacle that was left by President Trump in his last term. We find ourselves in a situation where, number one, we have to make sure that we have a fair tax system. I ask anyone out there in the audience or anyone out watching this debate, do you think the tax system is fair? The fact is that I said nobody even making under $400,000 had a single penny increase in their taxes and will not. And if I'm reelected, that'll be the case again. But this guy has increased your taxes because of the deficit, number one. He's increased inflation because of the debacle he left after the way he handled the pandemic. And he finds himself in a position where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, when, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for us to be able to negotiate drug prices with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to 50%.
This reminds me of my grandfather just before he died. He used to like twiddle his thumbs like this, and then his head would tilt back.
How much prescription they need. You know what that did?
And he'd keep twiddling his thumb while he was snoring with his head back like this.
That's him.
To pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available.
Grandpa Lenny up on the stage. He's shitting bricks, dude.
We're going to make sure that we have child care. We're going to significantly increase the credit people have for child care.
You haven't done anything about child care, sir. I should know.
Causing health problems for people across the country. We're going to continue to fight to bring down inflation and give people a break.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your closing statement.
Like so many politicians,
Astounding.
he's just a complainer.
Nothing about Gaza, nothing about the climate.
We want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do. All he does is make our country unsafe by allowing millions and millions of people.
Wow, there was people like betting there was that it was going to be like a 63% chance that Trump wins this debate.
That would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine should have never happened. He talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it.
Fucking Netanyahu gave the American tax dollars to Hamas. He funneled it into Hamas.
Charlottesville, this is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you. And
Who is he
don't
talking
respect
about?
the president, and they don't respect you throughout the world. What we did was incredible. We rebuilt the military. We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs. But he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's ever.
I don't know what's a bigger nightmare, this fucking shit or the fact that, like, this is how pathetic I am. 0 of my friends watching. Hilarious.
Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years.
Kids dragging
choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of
He's
themselves.
reflective. I love him.
And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Fabulous.
Thank you, former
No idea what you're talking about.
President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Well, now they're not going to look at each other as who's going to go where? Are they going to go off in different directions? Are you even going to film that part? Did you not discuss it? They didn't discuss it. What's going on here, CNN? Oh, CNN. Oh, CNN, what are you doing? Oh, they're both lost. Neither one knows what to do.
The president and former presidents making their way off the CNN debate stage. Looks like Joe Biden, the first lady, has come out. Former President Trump walking off the stage. The first debate of the 2024 campaign and the earliest presidential debate ever now in the books and in front of the voters. Tonight, along with Aaron Burnett, first word on what those voters might make of it from our political professionals, from our CNN Flash Poll and Swing State Focus Group. We'll be talking to surrogates, including Vice President Harris, getting fact.
I always forget that word, focus group. I've been trying to commit it to memory recently.
Kate Beckinsale, David Van Jones, Alyssa Parker, Griffin, News 9 anchor Abby Phillip, David Axelrod, and CNN Chief National Correspondent John King. John, let me start with you. Your thoughts.
That's an historic showdown.
This was a game-changing debate in the sense that right now, as we speak, there is a deep, a wide, and a very aggressive panic in the Democratic Party.
No fucking shit.
And it continues right now. It involves party strategists, it involves elected officials, it involves fundraisers. And they're having conversations about the president's performance, which they think was dismal, which they think will hurt other people down the party in the ticket. They're having conversations about what they should do about it. Some of those conversations include, should we go to the White House and ask the president to step aside? Other of the conversations are about, should prominent Democrats go public with that call? Because they feel this debate was so terrible. They do say, in moments in the debate later, the president got better and got his footing, but then...
No, he didn't. Each beginning of every answer would start out with like some strength behind it, but there was nothing behind that.
He used to answer some very specific and direct questions about his conduct, about January 6th and what all. So that will be dealt with out there. And sometimes there's a parallel universe between the American people. It'd be nice to see what the voters say. But I can tell you, it started minutes in. It started with the first couple of answers, and it has continued throughout the night from a, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to what do we do?
Oh, what a fucking disaster.
The Democratic Party, including elected officials, saying we have a problem.
Just to sign what John is saying, I mean, the panic that I am hearing from Democrats is not like anything that I have heard.
Oh, what a fucking disaster.
And a lot of it has to do with, first of all, there's a deep frustration about Trump's lies. I mean, he lied a lot tonight. But the problem for Biden is that Trump was able to take sometimes incredible falsehoods and turn them into some kind of argument, whereas Biden in a lot of cases not coherent.
I still like Abby Phillip, I still like Laura Coates, I still like Anderson Cooper.
And answer them to the American public. And
I haven't followed them at all though in a while. I used to subscribe to fucking cable, but I don't have any cable anymore. I mean, so I don't even. Can you watch anything on HBO of CNN's other than this?
But especially,
I don't really care. I don't trust them.
They were hoping that tonight would be a game changer. They are now seeing a president who is in the White House, who they do not necessarily believe can do this for another 4 years.
Yeah,
that's right.
Look, I can't argue with either of them about how Democratic leaders are.
You know, maybe this is a good thing.
We said at the beginning that each person had a fundamental goal, and for Biden, that goal was to appear energetic, engaged, and look like someone who is capable of serving for another for president. That was job number one. I actually think he scored a bunch of points. I think if you just judge this on sort of policy stuff, he did score a bunch of points on issues like abortion, for example, on some of the economic issues. But there is a feeling I think there was a sense of shock, actually, at how he came out at the beginning of this debate.
Yeah.
How
He was having shock himself.
he did get stronger as the debate went on, but by that time, I think the panic had set in, and I think you're going to hear discussions that I don't know will lead to anything, but there are going to be discussion about whether he should continue. And I think part of it is Donald Trump did not meet his mission either. He could not resist the temptation to be nasty, to
he wasn't that bad.
About a whole bunch of things.
He didn't have to be.
His own record, about Biden's record, and to seem petty and small at times. So what you saw was a candidate who's deeply vulnerable and a president who may not be able to take advantage of it.
Listen, if anybody in America thinks that was even close to being an okay debate by Joe Biden, I'm living in a parallel universe.
No, I'm sure my mother's at home thinking he's such a good man.
To the closing statement, the biggest issue for Democrats is abortion, and he couldn't give an answer. He gave an answer.
Fuck, they didn't even. That's right. They barely even talked about Roe.
Issue for Democrats tonight. I've heard from leading Democrats across the United States, elected governors, congressmen.
Dude, David Urban be wearing the red, white, and blue. Nice. I like it.
Bob Casey, I promise you tonight, in the state of Pennsylvania, is throwing his mouth.
Fuck, this fucking neocon Republican should run on the Democratic ticket.
I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, look, it was a really disappointing debate performance from Joe Biden. I don't think there's any other way to slice it. The biggest issue that he had to prove to American people was he had the energy and the stamina, and he didn't do that. And so I think
this is Kate Bedingfield, former, I couldn't see it, former White House something contributor? No, not her.
Some really rough moments in this debate, and talking to the Biden campaign, they say their dials started really moving away from Trump as he was increasing his personal attacks on Biden. So I think there was a lot about his kind of character and the kind of personal nastiness that he was putting on display, that doesn't help him with the swing voters that he needs. And I also think you saw him.
Dude, I'm gonna upload this to YouTube or whatever if anyone wants to watch it. And then if there's any comments, I'll screenshot them, and then I will clip them together with, the debate as it's happening in the corner of the screen. That way, probably, yeah. Here.
He didn't do well at all.
Van Jones
and he looked
is crying.
I'll give you the analysis. You kind of have the old man versus the con man. I can walk you.
I cried when I watched him. I posted a video of him that I thought was beautiful.
As a good man, he loves his country. He's doing the best that he can.
The day that
tonight to restore confidence of the country and of the base, and he failed to do that. And I think there's a lot of people who are going to want to see him consider taking a different course now. We're still far from our convention, and there is time for this party to figure out a different way forward if he will allow us to do that. But that's not what we needed from Joe Biden, and it's personally painful for a lot of people. It's not just panic, it's pain for what we saw tonight.
Wow. Just add to that.
To lose Van Jones, man.
I think a lot of voters probably tuned out, and millions of people are having conversations with their family.
Alyssa Farah Griffin, former White House communications director. Trump, I think.
To fundamentally change our institutions. He has laid out what his plan is. I am not confident that that is the man to take him on. You cannot tell me democracy is on the line and then give that performance tonight. If, based on that, in 18 weeks, Donald Trump will be the president-elect.
The people doing focus groups tonight, and we'll see if our dial group with Laura Coates confirms this, say that Biden actually scores pretty well on the issues when he's talking about the substance. And Trump's numbers went down both because he was ducking questions, he was lying about some things, and he was refusing to answer. And some of it was the tone. They don't like him. So when you see that, when you see sort of the statistics You're going to look at like, oh, that's a mixed bag. But to Van's point about the president's performance, that's what caused the panic. So the question is, and my question actually is, what happens? Because to it's a great political strength of Joe Biden is his resilience and his stubbornness. It's also sometimes a blind spot because he is so stubborn. It's going to be very hard to someone, and I don't know who it is, who could go to Joe Biden and say,
Fuck, dude, Van Jones literally is crying right now. And you know, I feel for him. He's a good man. And I was saying I posted the day after the election a beautiful video of his talking about how this means that there's still good in the world. And I posted it on my Instagram. It's a beautiful video if you haven't seen it. He is a nice guy.
Kicking Donald Trump out of the White House. They're Democrats. The Democratic Party is a very diverse party. It fights about a lot of things. It has generational issues.
In a fucking neoliberal. He's a decent dude.
Trump from getting back into the White House. They love Joe Biden.
They don't want him back.
They came into this debate nervous. Biden was in a weak position. They leave this debate panicked.
John, if you love the guy, how could you put him out there?
That's hard.
If you love him, if you love Joe Biden, if that was my father, you don't put a guy in that situation.
It's a great point. These guys know this better. These guys know this better because they talk to them. There's this
relief.
You don't challenge the incumbent because what has happened in the past.
Actually, Donald Trump that helped make Joe Biden the nominee because there was a feeling that if there were a primary, that would weaken, that Biden would probably win, but it would weaken him in a general election. And so there were people who could have run and didn't run because the history of that is bad. The point is now he is the nominee of the Democratic Party. This isn't the 60s, okay? Voters choose the nominee. He is the nominee. Only he can decide whether he's going to continue. And as you point out, and as Kate knows very well, this is a guy with a lot of pride and who believes in himself. And the idea that he's going to say, you know what, I had a bad debate, I think I'm going to walk away from this, I find it hard to believe.
It was also an, and I'll let you, I know Scott, you should probably jump in, but it was also, it was an atypically bad performance, okay? And it was also one night. So yes, was it an important night? Yes, but it was one night in the course of a campaign. So
He did also start badly in the 2020 elections, the primaries.
It's a one night.
And he did get better, but mostly that was because fucking Dems kept consolidating the vote. Like, fucking Kamala dropped, Pete dropped, and then got in line.
Not on the substance. I think he actually won on the substance. I don't think Trump did well.
There was someone else who dropped too. Who else was it that fucking...
Man, we can beat this guy, but I don't know if we can beat him with the press.
Scott, I've been here for you.
When we came on before this debate, I said I thought this candidacy was teetering. And everybody jumped on me.
Scott Jennings.
And I just, the candidacy has fallen, okay? Man, I know you're speaking from your heart.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the president. We should pray for the president.
Oh, come on, dude. That's arrogant.
I think the White House.
That's fucking condescending.
Have a lot of explaining to do.
No.
To their party and to the American people. This night, this one night, was caused by and asked for by the Biden team. They wanted this night. And this is what we got. We have been told for weeks by Democrats who say, oh, in private meetings, I've seen Joe Biden do cartwheels and handstands while doing trigonometry while solving all the nation's problems. We now know that every single person who said that has been lying to the American people.
Including Kevin McCarthy?
We've been told, Kate.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Everything we've been told about his mental acuity.
I got one word for you, Scott Jennings. Brando. Brando's got what plants crave.
Not terribly political. She maxed out to Biden in the last election because she hates Donald Trump. She said to me, I will never forgive the Democratic Party for this election. If the Democrats truly believe that he is an existential threat to democracy, and that's not just some talking point, they will wake up in the morning and they will do something else because this is not sustainable.
That's another point about there are Democrats who are panicking, and then there are a lot of Republicans who did not want to vote for Donald Trump, who do not want to vote for Donald Trump, who are also panicking tonight. I heard from one who said, this is scary. That's how it was described. to me. And
I second that.
there were a lot of those feelings, not just from the base of the party, but other people who really think that there should be an alternative to Trump, who they think is dangerous. And that's the other part.
Well, this is a pretty conclusive.
We already have, coming into this debate,
Oh.
support for third-party candidates. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. highest, and then Jill Stein.
Everyone is in agreement. The fucking neocons and the neolibs, they're all in agreement.
See if those numbers go up a little bit. I'm not saying they're going to go up anywhere.
I mean, that's good that they're finally understanding what the fucking MAGA right and the progressive left have always been saying. It was the center that we couldn't control. So the center seems to now be on board.
Maybe it'll be another debate. I'm not sure Donald Trump's going to agree to a second debate. Biden's going to need it.
He doesn't need it.
I'm not sure Trump's
Yeah.
going to agree to it.
Yeah, it doesn't need it.
So the race change. Bill, I would also watch the third
Yeah.
party.
I just want to say one thing, especially to you two guys. If, for whatever reason, there's a change at the top of the ticket, you guys are in trouble with Donald Trump, because the guy who was up there tonight is not a guy who's going to inspire people. He did not show in any way that he has changed from the guy.
Of course not.
People have a very
Yeah.
positive
So then
opinion
we
of
shouldn't
Donald
have
Trump.
ever fucking put Biden on the
Donald
ticket.
Trump won several policy exchanges tonight. I think he did well on immigration. I think he did well on the economy. I think he did well on inflation. I think he went back to Afghanistan.
Not
as he
really.
should have.
Yeah,
The thing
that
he
one
did
for
not
sure.
do was after he realized that he had Biden beat on policy and on image, he should have
Image.
turned the page and sounded an optimistic note about what we can become as a people and as a country. He did not do that. He continued to pummel Joe Biden on, like, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the night,
God.
very few things about the policy exchanges is going to be remembered. People are going to remember Joe Biden They're going to remember him shuffling out. They're going to remember him staring blankly into the camera.
Uh-huh.
They're going to remember him looking down,
He
losing
didn't
his
really-
train of thought.
Did
And
he look
they're
in the
going to
camera?
remember that everything I thought I knew, but the White House told me don't believe my own eyes, is actually true.
But that's not what I said, Scott, was if Joe Biden were not the candidate, if there was another candidate, I think Donald Trump would be in deep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, yeah.
Such a sad state of affairs. Something I was consistently hearing is, what a bad debate in the sense that Donald Trump lied throughout. He misrepresented. He tried to turn away from key points that he should have given answers on and kept deflecting. With any normal, generic Democrat next to him, I don't
Why
think he
didn't you
would have won
fucking
the
moderate,
debate. But you have
CNN?
somebody who was suffering from the moment that they got out. It was hard to watch. I had to occasionally look away because it was so uncomfortable. I think America deserves better than the options that are in front of them. It's really devastating. And by the way, our allies are watching.
Yeah, look, I mean, the way that I would try to phrase it if I were less emotional is Biden stuttered, but he told the truth. He looked terrible, but his policies were good. Trump spoke plainly, but he lied the whole time. And he looked good, but his policies were terrible. I mean, he's going to do nothing on climate change. He was hugging the cactus on abortion. I mean, his policies were
Hugging?
terrible. So you have somebody who
The
probably
cactus?
shouldn't be president, and you have somebody who cannot be president in terms of what Donald Trump represents.
Yeah.
So we have a problem as a country now.
Yeah.
And this might be an opportunity for people to come together and figure this out, because neither one of those people right now are inspiring the confidence that they should inspire.
Yeah,
so
but
they can
Trump's
use
not
this
going to drop.
opportunity
He doesn't have to drop.
But young voters are up for grabs in this election, and I don't know a voter under 30 who would have watched tonight and could say, I have confidence in Joe Biden and casting my vote for 4 more years of Biden.
And
I'm
this opens the
41.
door, by the way, for the conversation about if Joe Biden remains.
I
the
lost
candidate,
confidence
you're
in
not
Joe
voting for
Biden
You are voting
early
for
on in this
President Kamala
fucking
Harris.
crazy
Let's be
Gaza
honest.
bullshit.
That is where the Trump campaign is going to go with this. They started down this road with an ad they released today. But this conversation about who you're actually casting your vote for,
God.
the volume is going to ratchet up. And I got news for you. She's less popular than he is. That is going to be a big problem for the
Gavin
Democrats if this
Newsom,
ticket stays the way
probably.
it is.
Yeah, Scott's Democratic friend who
Yeah.
maxed out, right?
Sorry, I think I interrupted Scott, but I think he said that the ticket is staying the way it is. Yeah, exactly. He has no need to step down.
I don't forgive. I can't. I'm not going to be able to forgive the party for putting him in this position.
Yeah.
Look, I think about on Donald Trump's lies. I mean, I spent a lot of time thinking about this throughout the debate because, me in the media, I sit in
The
the
party
chair,
didn't fucking impeach and convict. And, that's partially Adam Shifty Schiff's fault. Adam Shifty Schiff had the fucking means to fucking get a Senate conviction. He messaged me about it personally. One day I'm going to tell the story, but someone's got to watch this and ask me to tell it.
in a coherent way to blunt the
He didn't do it, even though he messaged me to say it would work. Anyway, ask me about it. I'll tell you. I'll make a video.
millions of people watching.
Particularly on the most basic subject matters that President Biden should have been able to just.
That world that he was able to build. When he was making his discrete policy, the points, but part of the job on the debate stage is dealing with an opponent like Donald Trump, who builds like a mile a minute.
I don't know if it's even worth watching the rest of this.
I'm not sure. I don't
My
think
neck
giving viewers
feels
enough
good this
credit.
time.
I think what they saw was the Trump that they didn't like, and I don't think he did himself a great service.
Actually, I would say something to the contrary. I didn't hate Trump in this as much as I typically do, especially considering the alternative, which is a guy that is supporting a genocide.
He was completely wrong. Right, so he's up there talking about Charlottesville, Trump not denouncing the two sides, but Snopes was out last week, 7 months ago, 7 years too late kind of thing on the deal. And that's the thing Joe Biden's going to fact check him on. Somebody was proven wrong.
We're going to more panel out here. A lot of notable moments, painful moments from tonight.
Fact check him on what?
Perhaps a single defining one as well. This one early on.
Making sure the right one, like every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, if we fund Medicare.
Thank you, President.
Oh, God.
He already did beat Medicare. He beat it to death, and he's destroying Medicare.
He did beat Medicaid. What is this? Got some notifications. Oh, no, none of them are people looking at my live feed, which is still live now. I've been streaming now for how long? Does it say? 2 hours, 15 minutes, 51 seconds. Oh, but the first 15 minutes is me dropping off my kid.
Even before that moment, when he first started speaking, President Biden, and the raspiness, the hoarseness of his voice, that was at 9/11, and there were several minutes when Jake and Dana were setting the rules. That's probably less than 10 minutes into the debate, and he totally lost his train of thought, and ended up saying Medicare just out of the blue. We've heard so much from the other panel about their reactions to this. I think ever since, and I've had this conversation so often, that after the midterm, if Joe Biden, after a remarkably successful first 2 years and a remarkably successful midterm for a first-term president, had said, I'm the transitional president, and I'm moving on and sending it to another generation, but he was unwilling to do that, and Joe Biden was unwilling to do that.
It sucks to think that in just 40 years' time, the age that I am now, which doesn't seem that long for me, I'll be like that.
The watch party she was at.
Sucks.
Obviously, a response that does not match.
And me too, for sure. I'm gonna have Alzheimer's. I hope there's some fucking medicines for that. It's what someone I know is going through at the moment.
I was just going to say that the two of them decided after November of 2022 that he was going to seek the presidency.
Who is
There were
also,
so many people who thought he should have turned
Trump's
it over
age.
to a new generation. And this has been, quite frankly, a car accident in slow motion that we've seen over and
Very slow
as has been pointed out, Joe Biden sought this debate at this remarkably early time because he knew he was losing and he needed to change the narrative, and he did change the
Chris
narrative.
Wallace.
He sunk his campaign to that.
Well, and beyond the spin room now, this is where the surrogates and allies of the campaign come to spin their
Caitlin Collins.
Challenge for Biden surrogates. We have
Oh, it's
Governor
Caitlin. That's weird.
Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock in the back of the room. There are Trump campaign aides in here as well. No reporters are talking to them.
Oh, MSNBC is going to be so pissed off that all of these fucking neo-libs are saying that he lost the debate. Oh, Joe Scarborough tomorrow morning is going to be fucking ripping on CNN.
Was part of his closing statement there. He made no mention of abortion or Donald Trump's felony conviction. The two things that they have talked about the most, the fact that that is the biggest contrast between President Biden and President Donald Trump. Obviously, the felony
David Pakman right now. Oh, what is he going to be saying? I can't wait to watch his reaction video. The guy who said, well, I'd rather vote for the guy who's got a good administration.
Donald Trump lied about January 6th. He downplayed his own role. And he also claims that
we're in that administration right now. How great is shit? You know what? Since 5 days after Biden won, my pet bearded dragon, who I was deeply attached to, died. That was the beginning and the end of my life for me, and everything has gotten worse since this guy took office.
He's at a watch party.
For me.
They're cheering for more
Just
years.
saying.
He's speaking.
Everything.
What I'm curious about, okay?
And not all necessarily related to Biden, but
He walked out to his age.
there are some policies that have made my life more difficult.
That's more alarming than anything. You know, he's not the first president who's had a really...
Since we can hear it, why don't we listen to it?
And I'm not even allowed to legally talk about them.
All right. Thank you. I want to go home with you.
Yeah. Wait, he finally woke up. Oh, he warmed up. Okay. No, he's leaving the stage. That's it?
There he is. Thank you. The rousing applause, going to that party. I mean, he wasn't a third that vibrant or vigorous inside the debate. I think fundamentally, I think a lot of Americans saw.
Wait, that was his big speech? Thank you. I want to go home with you.
His response, and as you talked about, lies and
oh, someone held up the sign upside down. I love it.
Unfortunately, they also saw a Joe Biden maybe they don't recognize. This is not the person who was quick on his feet or fast to parry or to respond quickly to misinformation, to respond quickly to lies.
He hasn't been that Joe Biden in a long time.
My comment was perhaps, but it also was stark. You know, before I went into this conversation, I thought about the idea of infirm versus
who's that lady? I don't know
and
her.
I think that Joe Biden did not do enough to mitigate the idea that he is infirm.
I can't see her face because of the closed captioning.
Looking unstable.
So annoying. It was blocking Trump most of the time that I was watching too. Obviously, I won't upload it with that on there, but she got a big old zit, looks like.
Also something that Joe Biden was to be doing in a more effective way and did not. And so it's sort of hard to be here now and say,
oh boy, I'm gonna have some zits tomorrow. That was some stressful shit.
Also jump in quickly.
Wow, she got big boobs too. Dang. Oh man, those are torpedo boobs. Nice, lady.
The mics, they weren't able to do that. And then there was the other
cool suit too.
Effectively, and unfortunately, the president did not do that.
I'm going to pick up on that. I mean, there was a question asked about what.
Oh, and the one lady's got a neat dress. That's really cool. That is a dress, right?
That Biden is in terrible.
That's kick ass.
He finishes his statement, and the moderator, I forget which one, said you have 49 seconds left. Basically,
Dana.
Almost half of your 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Then he's asked about Social Security.
The moderator, you forgot who it was. There was only 2 there. He's one of. You're on the same network, dude. You've been there for like 3 years.
Talk about black voters and protecting Social Security.
And not
not to, I
Maybe
don't
not
speak
3
on
years.
behalf of black voters, but that was a great example of an issue where both of them sounded just like
Yeah,
black.
no one
What is
had any
policy?
idea.
What is a black job and a black child
Yeah.
care? It was like, what is happening?
Yeah.
It was very similar to the end
Leave
when
in
they started going
49
on,
minutes,
why?
49 seconds. It may as well have been
Where I think
49
as a
minutes.
voter, you're just like, these are the options. It doesn't feel great.
One of the number one concerns that you hear from parents in this country. Parents have to quit their jobs because it's less expensive for one person to not work instead of having to pay for childcare. Neither of them gave a substantive answer on that. They were both answering questions about very different topics. I mean, Chris and I turned to each other and said, this was a question about childcare costs.
A lot of clumsy kind of response.
Yeah, but I don't know, the mics, and that was, the Biden campaign agreed to that. They wanted that because they were so frustrated by how that first debate in 2020 went on this issue. And you did see Biden not using his time effectively with those times where Trump was not answering the question. I mean, Trump was asked 3 times if he would accept the results of the 2024 election. Obviously a critical question as we find ourselves in a state where he sought to overturn the election.
Well, your moderators didn't press him.
His mugshot taken out 3 miles from where we're sitting right now. And that was not a moment that became a point of focus. It was like watching a debate with someone who is not a convicted felon and is not also under all of these criminal charges. And I think that is a question of why President Biden.
They should have given it to fucking
in
Caitlyn.
other moments.
She was
did
better
not use it more effectively. They used it in the one moment.
interrogating
remarks
him.
Stormy Daniels as well. Donald Trump denied having sex with her in another surreal moment in this debate. I don't think that that's ever been uttered on a presidential debate stage. But it was something that you see President Biden talk more about from the White House or in front of donors.
He didn't
close door
have to
events.
spin January 6th. I just thought, oh, here we are in one of the most bizarre moments, right? The idea that actually on January 6th there was a lot of good things happening. And if you just think back to that time, it was just
January
so
6th
sort of a wild way to spin that. And again,
I thought it was a pretty active way to spend
well, it would be less if the president.
It got my mind off of my bearded dragon who died. That was one good thing about January 6th. I was very much in a very dark
They
state.
know the rules. He practices with the mics.
Not as
He knows
bad
every
a
one of these
state as
questions
I
is
was
coming.
when my daughter was
And
kidnapped,
yet he
but
couldn't fill the time. Now, I just want to, let's see what the White House
at the
is
time
saying.
it felt
So
like
the
there
White
was
House
nothing
saying
worse.
He had a cold, wasn't feeling well. and
Oh,
he was
that is a
not
two-piece suit.
But what accounts for someone with
It's
so much
really
experience,
cool.
so much preparation, and this being the outcome?
Honestly, I think the question answers itself. He wasn't capable of doing any better than he did. He had all.
There's no numbers prepared to not go over the 2 minutes.
He was incapable tonight on the biggest of stages that he saw. He in effect dictated, and with all of that preparation, he was incapable of doing better.
Oh, whoa,
than
it
he
just
was.
changed
And
my
you can't come back from it.
screen.
You can't be in a state where tens of millions of Americans
Changed
watch
to
you
black.
and come up empty.
Interesting.
And that's what he did tonight.
At
You
9:11
almost seemed a
p.m.
bit nervous at the beginning, Ronnie. We could read all kinds of things into the facial expressions and, the utterances, but I think at the end of the day, we heard the partisan panel start to wistfully look in the air and talk about what if he wasn't on the ticket. And I think that kind of language and the kinds of things that you're gonna see over the next 24 hours is really going to be the important conversation. This debate was early. Is it early enough for there to be some other discussion, more fulsome, taken more seriously, and we'll find that out.
And one of the questions I have is, who, if Joe and Joe Biden don't make that decision on their own, is there anybody in the party? Because, the party's system has been so weakened. There were a group of people that came to Richard Nixon in August of 1974 and said, you know what, you gotta leave. You get 4 votes in the Senate, and you either resign or you're gonna be removed.
Yeah,
from office.
remember when
I'm not sure
Republicans
there's
actually
anybody
had some
on the authority
fucking
in the Democratic Party
backbone?
who could go to Joe Biden and say, it's time to say bye.
Because they were going to convict him in the Senate?
He was recovering from that, and that came about 50 minutes into the debate after he had been on. Obviously, they're passing that on background to reporters who are tweeting it. Voters who are watching at home, millions of them who have never even considered having a Twitter account, are not going to see that. And it's not really going to help reassure voters, because we do live in this moment where President Obama had a really terrible first debate. His own aides will now admit it, that he came off and he
Don't
wasn't
do
prepared,
that,
ready, and
Caitlyn.
Mitt Romney surpassed him in that debate. What's different about this is that voters already had quite high concerns about President Biden's age.
Right.
And this was a moment where they were hoping it would look more like the State of the Union address and how he came out there and how
Right.
he
He
dealt
did
with
come off
the
stronger.
Republicans who were heckling him.
Yeah.
Here in this debate, President Trump would give his answer,
Fell
and President Biden would come
fucking
out and say, that's a lot of
apart.
malarkey, that's a lot of foolishness, but he didn't have the same demeanor that he did in 2020, where he looked directly at the camera and said, it's not about this, it's about you at home who are having these moments. He wasn't smiling and laughing as much as he was in the first debate. It was a very different demeanor in how he handled Trump. Trump, on the other hand, was not even making eye contact. He wouldn't even look at President Biden or in his direction as he was trying to stick to the messaging, or he would redirect a question about a general of his resigning into Biden and Afghanistan. He was taking those moments, and that is something that the Trump campaign worked with Trump on privately. And I can tell you, obviously this is a Trump campaign. This is
Made
what
the
they're
difference.
saying. They could not be more thrilled with how tonight went, and
Yeah.
feel really good about it. And they were nervous going
Trump
into this debate of how
thought
Trump
he
would
had
do.
a
And now they're
legitimate
walking out
chance
it
of
feeling
going to
pretty
prison
good.
for the rest of his life. Until tonight.
He sent me an emoji from the top person in the Trump campaign.
There's my frog.
Just for flames, for dumpster fire flames. Another one wrote train wreck. They couldn't feel better about it, and they should feel good about it. It was a very good night. And the one thing I will say for Trump, and there's no question, he lied about a lot of stuff, but he also showed real discipline. And one of the big questions you talk about, unstable versus unfirm. He was not unstable, and he was very controlled even in the lies, but he had discipline.
He called Biden a Manchurian candidate. He lied about late-term abortions and completely misrepresented what happened on January 6th as well.
Well, there were many things that were not true, but
But it was
you're
not a
contrasting
repeat of
with an unstable sort of perspective.
All right, all stay with me for more reaction. Anderson, I know we've got to hear what the White House has to say now.
Yeah, I want to bring in senior White House correspondent MJ Lee, who covers the Biden campaign, how they're seeing this tonight. Yeah, what are they saying?
Yeah, well, Anderson, obviously a ton of Democrats, voters, elected officials were tuning in tonight, really nervous and really desperate for President Biden to give his aid performance. And
Yeah, maybe this was a great thing.
It has really set off panic. There was one Democratic congressman I was in touch with who was on Capitol Hill at a watch party with a number of other lawmakers, and that moment early on in the debate where President Biden was talking about the national debt and seemed to lose his train of thought, paused for several seconds, and then gave a confusing answer. He said that when that happened, the entire room was just completely silent and in shock, and that this member's own reaction was that he wanted to jump off of a bridge. And he said that throughout the course of the 90 minutes of the debate, he and the other lawmakers in the room felt like Donald Trump looked young and Joe Biden looked old, and that Donald Trump seemed to mostly be on the offensive, and that Joe Biden seemed to be mostly on the defense. Democrats, he said, are just panicked right now and don't even know what to do. I mean, these are some really devastating reviews for a Biden campaign that really wanted to use tonight to dispel this notion that President Biden is too old for a second term. You and I were just talking about right before the debate how Biden advisors were hoping that for tonight, a lot of Americans would be tuning in and seeing a President Biden that was more than just the 5, 10, 15-second clips that they can see on social media where he does look feeble or older. And now we have another example of the kind of moment that is sure to go viral on social media. The Biden campaign, I should note, is obviously trying to do their best to offer their best bid. You know, they have pointed out moments from the debate that they say landed better for President Biden.
Oh God, just fucking watch!
They're also saying that for President Trump, when he was being malicious and being more personally insulting, that wasn't a good look for him. One source familiar with the campaign's thinking said, yeah, the president had a slower start, but he did warm up both on substance.
I want everyone to fucking know, okay? Because the person I'm not legally allowed to speak about says I keep weed everywhere. All right? When my kid's around. Here's the weed. All right? I do need to clean because we just had dinner before the debate started. Where's the weed, huh? Where's the weed? See where the weed is? I don't see it. Right where it used to be. Way up there. And there's a lot. Whee! Oops. Wait, what? This way. Where's my pipe? Which one is this one? The Sub-Zero? No, that's gonna fuck with my brain. I'm too tired for that. Balance? No. I want an indica. Cookies and cream? No, we do it. What else I got? Cake and cream? Cake and cream. That's an indica. I'll try that one. Let's see. Hold on. This is Urban Wellness. Yeah, Urban Wellness. I do like their Sub-Zero. You gotta try their Sub-Zero. It's It won some award actually. Yeah, go here. Good, very good. It wasn't as purpley this time, but I do have some really good photos that maybe I'll try that if I can remember to later. I'll splice it in. You gotta try the Sub-Zero. I'm just gonna bottoms up. Okie dokie. Oh yeah, the reason why I wasn't also gonna bring it out too, because I'm not even sure I'm technically allowed to smoke on YouTube. But maybe by now I'll cut it off. I think it's pretty conclusive who won the debate at this point. I mean, there's almost no debate about the debate. Cookies and cream. Where did I put it? Oh, cake and cream. I have a cookies and cream and a cake and cream. That's funny. All right. Cookies and cream and cake and cream. He gained this voter. He very well may have. Because that's the only way my vote's gonna have any impact. Hey, MAGA Republicans, you vote for Biden, I vote for Trump. Let's do it. You and me. Come on, let's go. You hate him, I hate him. So let's fucking just fuck with the whole thing. Oh, not MAGA Republicans, I mean. Conservative Republicans. Conservative Republicans. Do what I am doing. Or the opposite, I should say. You don't have to worry about MAGA Republicans. They're solid, right? Whew! Fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene is coming in her pants.
And the president did intensive preparation for this debate. I mean, that's the other part of this.
Coming up debate night, VP Kamala Harris with who?
They were preparing him as well as they possibly could for this moment. We came in here saying, sorry, man,
so she's gonna talk.
He had to.
Do I want to listen to that? I don't know if I could tolerate her after what I just fucking watched. This is not the cookies and cream. This is the garlic. I think it's called black garlic or something.
Erodes so significantly that it's less than what Donald Trump got. Donald Trump wins. Okay, that's how the math works here. So
if it cuts off for some reason, it's probably because the algorithm is seeing that I'm smoking weed.
Was he able to do that?
In which case,
there's anybody who thinks that he was.
Well, I tell you,
I'll cut the video.
Starting to get the pushback now from people who are not.
Probably should anyway.
In agreement with us. I just want to get. No, I actually did. A major black leader just called me and kicked my butt, and so I just want to give the other side, which is that Republicans would never throw their guy overboard, even if they had a guy that had felony convictions. Even if they had a guy that led an insurrection,
Even if they had a guy who was a serial liar, they would never throw their guy overboard. And there are people who are angry tonight. The Democratic Party leaders are already abandoning Joe Biden, and they're saying that we already know that he's older and slower, but what he stands for matters. What he was, if you, as Axelrod said, if you wrote out what he said, if you didn't listen to it, the substance of what he said is true to the Democratic Party. And there's a pushback beginning to say the Democratic Party is too scared to stand for Joe Biden. Other people will.
If I can I just respond?
Yes, sir.
Listen, I believe this. I think when we see sort of voter surveys and so on of people who watch the debate and so on, they're going to be a lot different than you might think. Because I don't think Donald Trump had a great night, and I think on substance, Biden did fine. But that wasn't the big question about Biden. But here's the thing. People can love Joe Biden. Lots of Democrats do. I worked with him. I have deep respect for him.
Yes, sir.
But as you said earlier, the stakes are enormous. You said democracy's on the line.
She forgot to put this in.
It becomes less
That was the one
about
chore
loyalty
that she
to
had to
one
do, was
person
get all
than
three
to
of the
idea
marbles
of
back
how
in the
much you're
marble
willing to
box.
fight.
She failed. She got two of them in.
On this point that Vantage made, because one of the reasons I started this voter project is Washington is often wrong about these things, so I'm always skeptical when all the elites in Washington and the people who live comfortable lives in Washington. This conversation is not just Washington. I want to make that clear tonight. This is Democrats across the country who are watching, Democrats who live in competitive areas, Democrats who love Joe Biden. It'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. But the other question I would just raise is, so there has to be a conversation with the president after tonight, right? Some of those conversations will be from people who say, sir, you should step aside. But if you want to take Van's position out there, the main organizing impetus in the Democratic Party is keep Donald Trump in retirement. Right, keep him out of the White House.
I even kind of envisioned that by the time I
what to do about tonight, those will have
came
to
back,
So
I
my
would
question to the
have
people who know
found,
best,
I would have
the one who knows
lost
the
my
best is sitting
lighter.
right over there.
I
Who
envisioned
can
it.
have that conversation with the president?
Who's the only person in the party?
I mean, Bill Clinton or Barack Obama might call him, but I don't know if that would matter.
There's
Is
one.
it Jill Biden, Ted Kaufman? Who is it?
Yes.
Point at one guy. Who do you want me to
Joe
shoot?
Biden is the single most important
I'm just
person
gonna
in terms
assume
of sharing
it's,
criticism, in terms
the
of being
person-
direct, in
But will
terms
she?
of opinions.
That's too
Oh,
easy.
absolutely. Absolutely, yes. And I imagine that there
John
will be
King is too easy.
there will be
It's-
serious conversations
wait until it
within the
zooms
president's
out.
inner circle. People like Mike Donnellan, people like Steve Ricchetti, people like Anita Dunn.
Steve
who will
Buscemi.
have direct conversations with the president. He is not somebody who shies away. He is absolutely, I think as was said earlier, he's
Okay, fine. John
absolutely
King.
somebody who is stubborn and resilient, but he's actually not somebody who shies away from having tough conversations and having direct feedback. So yes, absolutely. I have direct discussions with him about how to adjust the campaign for this. But I also think to this point about waiting to see where actual voters land on this is critically important before before the elites sitting at this table determine that the rest of the country hated the performance. I think we got to see what voters have to say.
All right, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, Vice President Kamala Harris will be joining us.
Oh God. Maybe I should stick around for it. Oh my God. Still no one watching. Well, I had fun.
HCM is a serious heart condition affecting as many as 1 in 200 people. Like me.
And me. It can impact how you feel and what you can do.
I still felt tired on my beta blocker. So I talked to my cardiologist.
About treatment advances in HCM that gave me new options.
It was a breakthrough for me.
So you still have to watch old people commercials
And visit HCM.
when CNN is on HBO?
Sometimes I imagine what I write today for my dear friend Martin. I remind people that all hate thrives on one thing.
This, I think, is the, yeah. This is the one. No Muslims. Yeah, there we go.
Who refuse to bystanders.
The Muslims cleaned up their own fucking, what is the word? Slander? Stand up against Jews, something? Stand up against all, yeah, okay. So that was how they managed to cover all bases. But there was definitely one base that was clearly more important than the others.
Especially with artificial intelligence. where the U.S. currently leads the world. American researchers are making exciting new discoveries, and U.S. companies are investing billions in AI solutions that will strengthen small businesses. But foreign competitors like China want to surpass America's
China!
Our leaders need to protect America's competitive edge.
In the furniture business, ZipRecruiter helps us hire.
Hey, check it out.
Keep up. We needed a project manager yesterday. Posted a job on ZipRecruiter.
When you can't drink, I got my tea cabinet. I got more up here. I got some spares. Oh, and I need to put these back in there. Also, this is probably my number one favorite. But I also like this, and I need to get more of the dragon one. I do like the dragon one. I didn't like it as much the first time, but then got totally addicted to it. But this is also really good. This is a necessity. I mean, I had no choice. I couldn't drink because I'm on house arrest. But if you wanted to stop drinking and you have like an oral fixation or something, it helps to have a lot of herbal teas in the house. And I was drinking caffeinated ones, which I don't almost never do past 5 p.m. But especially because on Fridays I have 2 shifts at Amazon, so I gotta move. I don't know. This Kamala Harris thing might not be a good idea, but God. Here we go. We'll be back in a moment. Boy, oh boy. Gonna need a coaster. Wow, what a nightmare. What a nightmare, yo. What a nightmare.
The first debate of the 2024 presidential campaign is now history. The fallout from it is just getting started. Joining us now is Vice President Kamala Harris. Madam Vice President, thanks for being with us. CNN's John King has described a panic inside the Democratic Party right now because of President Biden's performance in tonight's debate. He's been hearing from Democratic lawmakers and others around the country.
Oh, there she is.
Some within your own party are wondering if President Biden should even step aside. What do you say to that?
Listen, first of all, what we saw tonight is the president making a very clear contrast with Donald Trump on
Shut
all
up.
issues that matter to the American people.
Uh-huh.
Yes, there was a slow start.
I didn't hear
there was a
anything
strong
about Gaza,
finish, and what
motherfucker.
became very clear through the course of the night is that Joe Biden is fighting on behalf of the American people, on substance, on policy, on performance. Joe Biden is extraordinarily strong. And
On substance and policy and performance tonight, I mean, the president's performance tonight clearly was disappointing for his supporters. CNN is reporting Democratic lawmakers watching the debate were worried about the president's performance. One said it was a disaster, another called it a train wreck. Those are Democrats, especially worried that Biden did not punch back on Trump's lies.
Listen, people can debate on style points, but ultimately this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance.
You know, bitch, you got about as much chance of being president as fucking Jill Stein.
Over again, as he is wont to do. He would not disavow what happened on January 6th. He would not give a clear answer on whether he would stand by the election results this November. He went back and forth about where he stands on one of the most critical issues of freedom in America, which is the right of a woman to make decisions about their own body. He has been completely ambiguous, and all of the
No, he did actually answer
where
that.
he stands on that issue.
That's not
despite
true.
The fact that he hand-selected.
He did say that he believes in exceptions for incest and
Just 3 years ago,
rape.
we commemorated the 2-year anniversary of Dobbs, wherein women across our country have
So that's a lie,
denied
bitch.
emergency health care,
All that may be true, all that may be true, But the president of the United States was not able to make that case to Donald Trump on the stage tonight. I mean, you debated against then Vice President Trump.
She honestly thinks she can save it just long enough. I can even see she looks kind of smug. She's like, I'm gonna be president. I'm gonna be the first woman president.
Anderson,
if you
the
can
point
fucking
has
stay
to
in
be
office, bitch.
performance
If
in terms of what
and
a
you will
president
not
does.
be on
A
the
president
ticket
fights an
anymore.
insurrection against the Capitol. No, but I got
Fucking Biden is gonna hold the DNC hostage.
tonight. I'm talking about 3.5 years of performance.
He won't step down.
It's historic.
But
Whether
is that
it be
the man who we saw on the stage tonight? Is that
the other
person
guy
you
on
see
the
in meetings
debate
every
stage,
day?
the person that you saw on the debate stage that has, for the last 3.5 years, up until today,
Man, I'm sorry I shot John King. I need to shoot this bitch. Where's the rubber band?
so that we have an infrastructure, a real infrastructure plan where we're putting trillions of dollars on the streets of America to upgrade our infrastructure.
You never find anything.
The person I see in the Oval
And I don't even have that much furniture anymore.
meeting with heads of the military and the intelligence community, and in the situation ensuring the safety of America. The person I see in Joe Biden on the world stage, convening world leaders who often ask for his advice. Most recently, just during the G7 conference.
Oh, here. It was
So
here.
I'm gonna
There you
spend all
are.
night
Hi.
talking about the last 90
Hello,
minutes.
friend.
When I've been
The
watching
ones that
the
like
last
tie
2.5
together the
years of
asparagus and shit are
But this
excellent.
was a debate that your campaign wanted. You pushed for this debate at this moment. Obviously, I mean, you
Boom!
honestly say.
I kind of got her ear.
Can you say that you are not concerned at all, having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start, that's obvious to everyone. I'm not gonna debate that point. I'm talking about the choice in November.
See, this one's not gonna hurt, unfortunately. Oh, yeah, it didn't even
In
reach
our
her.
collective lifetime. And do we want
It was a
to
slow start.
look at what November will bring and go on a course for America that is about a destruction of democracy, electing a man who is said to be a dictator on day one? Or do we want to continue on a course that's about strengthening America's economy, building and creating 15 million American jobs, over 800,000 manufacturing jobs?
You think she's auditioning for the DNC right now to be the head of the
I
ticket?
understand why everyone wants to talk about
Oh,
it,
God.
but I think it's also important to recognize that the choice.
I didn't get she gets so nasally.
People that were on the debate stage.
She gets
involves
nasally when she's, I guess, when she's backed
and
into
there's one
a
person on
corner.
that stage who has the endorsement of their vice president, and that's Joe Biden. Mike Pence is nowhere to be found in supporting Donald Trump, and that's why he has to look for. That's why he has to look for someone else to run with him, who, as we know, will embolden and rubber stamp whatever he wants, because they're gonna have to make a choice to not be Mike Pence and to put Donald Trump over their country.
Neither person on that stage tonight made the argument as coherently as you just did.
Right,
mentioned
'cause you
production
wanna be
rights. I'd
on
like
the
to
top
just play
of the
that
ticket.
exchange that we saw tonight.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can
Oh,
do whatever you
God.
want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, Constitutional Scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy could convert.
You know, Kamala was a little better on Palestine than Biden. She was the first one to call for a ceasefire, so I mean that's kind of bold to introduce that before your fucking president, before your boss.
Very, very conservative. If you're going to sign that bill, I'll veto it.
But then she immediately said for at least 6 weeks.
To someone who watched the debate tonight and has serious concerns about the president of the United
So
States,
I'd certainly
what do you
be
say to
more
that?
willing to vote for her than I would Biden.
They saw the fact, they witnessed the
But,
fact that if
I
Donald
mean-
Trump were elected to be president of the United States this November, he will sign a national abortion ban. take him at his word. He said he would when he was
Maybe she
president
is
before.
Indian.
He said if it came to his desk, he'd sign it. There's no reason to believe anything would change. A national abortion ban means that folks in New York, California,
That's what it is, right?
all
She's
these other
black
states
and
that
Indian,
protected the
isn't
right
it?
of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do will be at risk. That's what you should take away from that discussion.
And just
Joe
finally,
Biden was very clear. He will sign back into law the protections of Roe v. Wade.
the person we
These
saw
are big
tonight, the
issues,
president we saw
substantive
tonight on that
issues.
stage, is that how he is every day?
She's in LA.
The
Is that what the
Joe
debate
Biden
was?
that I work with every day is someone who, as I have said, has performed in a way that has been about bringing people into the Oval Office. Republicans
Where
and
is she?
Democrats
Why
to
is she in
compromise
LA
that
in a
is extraordinary
nice office
these
like
days because
that?
it just doesn't happen with Joe
With a
Biden.
big old flag like that?
The Joe
Is
Biden I see
she
is
at
someone
like
who
the
goes
mayor's
to
office?
our allies around the world.
Who's the
and
mayor of LA?
strengthens
It's not
NATO
it's
to
not
the point that
Garcetti
there are
anymore,
two
is it?
new members of
No.
NATO who
I haven't been to LA in
4 years ago,
like a
people
couple of
said
years
NATO
now.
even
Crazy.
had a reason for existing.
Just
The
saying.
Joe Biden I know is someone who has delivered 800,000 new manufacturing jobs and bringing manufacturing back to the United States, not shipping jobs out like
Yeah.
Donald Trump did. So that's the Joe Biden I know.
Right.
President Kamala Harris,
But
I
now
appreciate
we
your
all
time
know
tonight.
that Joe Biden that's really behind
Thank you.
closed doors, which is one that is
Now,
fucking
Tony,
falling
as well,
over and
I
can't
have
remember
read
his own
announcements.
fucking name.
Evan Osnos, you have watched President Biden a lot. What did you make of tonight's performance?
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to put it. This was clearly a person who was diminished from where he was on the debate stage 4 years ago. I think for a lot of Americans who don't follow
This is a
politics closely,
Biden
they saw him do
biographer.
shocked. And, I will tell you, Anderson,
Evan
what I
Osnos?
see now and over the course of the next few hours and
Osnos.
days is that it's going to come down partly
Greek
to how
names
Joe
like are
Biden makes
usually
sense
really
of this,
long, but that
because
sounds
his
Greek to me.
self-mythology has always been,
Osnos.
okay, I'm the guy that gets knocked down and I get back up. That is, in some ways, it could be a real impediment to him if he's not going to be able to listen clearly to what people around him are going to say. There has to be some very hard conversations, and if he is in some ways occluded by that story that he tells himself, that he can always prevail, that's going to interfere with his ability to be a clear strategic thinker.
And panel here, John King.
I just want to make an observation about your interview with the vice president. The Republicans are going to probably disagree with me, but I think one of the greatest acts of political
I think
malpractice I've seen in my life.
Really, a person who was diminished from where he was on the debate stage 4 years ago. I think for a lot of Americans who don't follow
This is a
politics closely,
Biden
they saw him do
biographer.
shocked. And, I will tell you, Anderson,
Evan
what I
Osnos?
see now and over the course of the next few hours and
Osnos.
days is that it's going to come down partly
Greek
to how
names
Joe
like are
Biden makes
usually
sense
really
of this,
long, but that
because
sounds
his
Greek to me.
self-mythology has always been,
Osnos.
okay, I'm the guy that gets knocked down and I get back up. That is, in some ways, it could be a real impediment to him if he's not going to be able to listen clearly to what people around him are going to say. There has to be some very hard conversations, and if he is in some ways occluded by that story that he tells himself, that he can always prevail, that's going to interfere with his ability to be a clear strategic thinker.
And panel here, John King.
I just want to make an observation about your interview with the vice president. The Republicans are going to probably disagree with me, but I think one of the greatest acts of political
I think
malpractice I've
it's
seen in my lifetime doing this is that they kept
5
her
minutes
under
away
arrest
almost.
for
5
3
minutes,
years.
10 seconds
Now
away from
she's
being
out on
3
the
hours. I'm gonna cut it to
She
3
has
hours.
great appeal. Does she have
Even though I
weaknesses?
know
Yes.
that it's
The remote
actually-
history of her as a liability? Yes. Are her polling numbers great? No. But she has appeal with the pieces of the
Oh,
Biden
my thing's
coalition
gonna
where
go
he's
off in a
hurting
bit.
the most. And when you go into inner city Milwaukee, what do Black Americans say? Where's the vice president? Where has she
Yeah,
been?
even
Where's
though I was
the
gone for the
president
first
too?
15
Right
minutes.
there. Is she a communicator? Good on television?
I'm
And
gonna
they kept
cut
her in
that.
Iraq for 3 years. Now she's out there busy on the campaign trail. I know in places, I know in Republican places.
Dude, fucking Van Jones been crying, man. I can't believe it. He's been crying. They were taking a break. Oh my god, dude. He's still fucking crying.
Our part is to establish an identity as vice president. It's him. And again, she's churned her staff. She has issues, there's no question about it. But she also has potential star power. And on issues like reproductive rights and in the Black street community, she is a great asset to this team, and they have kept her under wraps. I would say two things, John. Like, she was in charge of the border. That was her job at the end of the presidency. I think she was largely absent from that. So you can say what you want. I just want to give a quick plug for our colleagues, who I think, not our colleague, but Andrew's your colleague, Dana and Jake. They did an incredible job tonight. The debate went flawlessly. Everybody in the world was watching to see if it was going to be a fair debate, if they were going to be favoring, one side or the other. They played it right down the middle. And America's better for it. So I just like to applaud and say,
Yeah.
great job.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it's because they did a great job. I'd say it's because they failed at their job.
And they totally made history tonight. America needed this conversation. They did it. Let me just take the other side of this Kamala Harris debate. It is a fair question to ask right now. What is going on inside the White House every day? Is she currently making more decisions in the White House than we know?
Right.
Who is making decisions in the White House right now? We're talking about this in terms of, can Joe Biden win an election and serve for
Just
4
as
years?
I said, now we know who you're meeting behind closed
She is a
doors.
big story tonight because her position in this administration, in this campaign,
Seems
has
much
become
clearer.
magnified by 1,000
Right.
right now.
All right.
True.
We gotta take a break, given all the talk tonight.
Every once in a while, Scott James makes a point, and it's usually because I made it first.
Marco Rubio, a lot of heads too.
Oh boy. Okay, you know what, guys? It's been fun with no one. My friend Sabrina Ravel had done one of these on Instagram, and I was just inspired by it, so I thought I would try one. I'm gonna have to let some out. I got about half left. No, it's full again. Woo! It's good shit. Urban wellness. It's good shit. Oh. Got my AOC sticker. I haven't decided where to put her yet. I used to just have her like this so that it wasn't in, people's, like, if it was in the front, then I'd probably get like a bunch of like MAGA creepers, saying some stupid shit. But I just had it here, that way if I was close to someone, I wouldn't have my phone out in front of someone I didn't know. So if someone were to notice about it, they could ask me, and I'd be happy to talk about it. I felt like that was a good way to be sort of covert. Obviously, wearing this around Amazon like I did the other day, I was being a lot more obvious about it. Yeah, and it was not an easy thing to work with. I don't think I'll be able to do it very often, at least not until winter, because it's a little hot in there. But I got some pictures of me inside of the building, which I'm not allowed to do. Me wearing my keffiyeh, and I wore it around for like an hour and a half. Okay, yeah, I got my notification. That means I can blow now. So. This is gonna be the first one of these. Well, you know what? No, this is bad. It's a bad idea for me to. I'll do both. Because otherwise I'll lose it. Oh no.
Live smarter, stronger, healthier.
So I record all of these, and I'm making a time-lapse kind of video about it. Because I've been on house arrest now for 4.5 months. It's unreal. Oh, I got to charge this thing. So it is. Yeah, I can blow it.
Viking,
Here.
exploring the world
Showing both of
in
you.
comfort.
Wow.
I can't wait to watch.
I didn't even think about the commentators.
Every new scandal just cancels out a different scandal until you become president. It's an ancient tactic called politics.
Not all elections are created equal. Some are much worse than others.
I'm at 3 hours and 1 minute, so let's see where it starts. Be back in a moment. Gee whiz, guys, that was so painful.
The candidate's performance and demeanor tonight notwithstanding, there is the crucial question of the truth of what was actually said on stage.
What was her name?
Our fact-checker
Brooke?
Daniel Dale joins us now. So, Daniel.
Oh, Daniel Dale. I love Daniel Dale.
That was the staggering number of false claims.
I love Daniel Dale. I love him so much.
I counted at least 30 false claims. Now, President Biden also made false claims, at least 9 false or misleading statements on first count. I'll give you some of them. He said he's the only president in a while who didn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world. Troops have, of course, died on his watch. He said he's put in a $15 per shot cap on insulin and Medicare. It's a $35 a month cap. He said it's a $200 cap on overall drug spending in Medicare. It's $2,000 a year. He said the border now has
What?
fewer crossings than when Trump was in office. That's generally not true. He said, or at least strongly suggested, unemployment was at 15% when he took office. It was actually 6.4. He said Trump wants to get rid of Social Security. Trump doesn't. He said billionaires pay 8.2%
Oh, really?
taxes. It's much higher. He said Trump told Americans to inject bleach amid COVID. We know Trump made foolish comments on scientists studying disinfectant injection, but didn't frame it as advice to people. And Biden said the border control endorsed him.
Trump told Americans to inject some. Yeah, he did.
Himself, in fairness, the president did appear to clarify that one. Now, the Trump list, it is way,
I have to go back and rewatch that.
He said some Democratic states allow people to execute babies after birth, an egregious lie that is illegal in every state. He said everybody, even Democrats who wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Roe was supported by 2/3 of Americans, even more Democrats. He said every legal scholar wanted Roe overturned, abortion returned to the states. Legal scholars have told me directly this is not true. He said the U.S. currently has the biggest budget deficit ever. No, that happened under Trump in 2020. He said the U.S. currently has a record trade deficit with China that also happened under Trump in 2018. He said Biden personally gets a lot of money from China. Zero evidence of this. He said there were no terror attacks during his presidency. In fact, there were multiple attacks. He said Iran didn't fund Hamas, Hezbollah, other terror groups under his presidency. Iran, in fact, did. He said Biden wants to quadruple people's taxes. That is pure fiction. He said the U.S. has provided way more aid to Ukraine than Europe had. It's actually the opposite. He said the U.S. has provided about $200 billion in Ukraine aid. It's closer to $110 million. And he said 18 or 19 million.
Dude, this guy is like the real life Sheldon from whatever that stupid show is that I can never remember. Big Bang Theory. Yes, that's the first time.
I always wanted to say Third Rock from the Sun,
which I also didn't really watch, but I liked that one.
Pelosi, who had the power to deploy the DC Guard. He said Pelosi now acknowledges she turned down the troops.
I saw it live.
Tells me this claim is still a lie. He said he deployed the National Guard to Minneapolis in 2020. Actually, that was the Democratic governor. He spoke of, quote, ridiculous fraud in the 2020 election. Zero evidence of any widespread fraud. He said NATO was going out of business before he took office. Completely, clearly absurd. He said the U.S. was paying 100% of NATO before he came along. The U.S. made up about 71% of NATO defense spending, not 100. He said he, not Biden, is the one who lowered insulin prices in Medicare. He did it for some seniors, but Biden did it for far more. He said Biden indicted him. Again, no evidence Biden has had a personal role in any of these 4 prosecutions. He said Europe takes, U.S. cars just about.
My God.
Food prices quadrupling under Biden. That's a lot of exaggeration, though they are up. He said Biden made up the idea. He called dead service members suckers and losers. No, the Atlantic magazine reported that, and then former Trump chief of staff John Kelly corroborated it. He said Biden called black people, quote, super predators for 10 years. Biden never once deployed that phrase, let alone for 10 years, but he did.
Yeah, I said the same thing.
Without specifying this about black people. He said his Trump tax cut was the largest in U.S. history. Not true, though, in fairness, Biden also said this. Trump said China and others stopped buying from Iran. Under him, China never stopped. He revived his pet lie, I don't know how many times they've done it, that he signed the Veterans Choice Program into law. Barack Obama did that in 2014. Trump signed an expanded version in 2018. And finally, Trump said Biden got rid of that Veterans Program. Biden has not done that.
These guys are amazing.
All right, well, Daniel Dale, thank you very much.
How do you do that?
One of those, clearly.
He must have a staff helping.
Someone on the short list of candidates who could be selected.
I mean, that is an impressive list. Like, Marco, little Marco, gonna be VP.
What Daniel Dale just finished when he went through every single one of those points. Does that give you pause?
Well, first of all, some of those things, like the last one you talked about was the VHOs. The VHOs
Little
program is actually
Marco.
it's been undermined in its implementation. So I think what Donald Trump is saying,
President Rubio.
Expanded, the Biden administration has actually slowed it down and impeded its implementation. I don't remember all 30 when we went through it. Obviously, we don't have to go through the Biden ones either. Suffice it to say that I think tonight, we all are in politics. I'm in office. You guys cover it. But there are millions of people watching who basically.
No, he'll be vice president forever. They're gonna make fucking Ivanka run after Trump dies. And he'll still be vice president to Ivanka. And eventually he'll be vice president to fucking Barron.
Yeah, COVID was bad, but Trump didn't create COVID. COVID impacted the entire planet.
But that was how people.
But I thought it was gonna be DeSantis, but DeSantis blew his shot. Which is why I believe and why I wrote into my script in my rewrite that DeSantis changes his name legally to DeSantis, but never answering the question why, and this is why. Because I predicted that Trump would win 2 years ago. And I wrote about it in my screenplay, and it needs a lot of fresh brushing up. I mean, there's all sorts of typos. I haven't even had time to like proofread it because of what I've been going through. But and I just sent it off in a terrible shape. But just to give the idea at least to my producer. But I haven't heard anything, and I think it's really fucking funny, and it does seem as though I have predicted the future as a, an aficionado of idiocracy, and likewise Mike Judge movies.
Are you okay with that? Sure.
Well, I think this is the negotiator in him. I was in the Senate when he was the president, and he would talk to these guys, not like a politician would normally, but he basically is trying to negotiate so that our partners do more. Interestingly enough, the Eastern European countries all punch above their weight in terms of how much they contribute. Poland is an example. The Western European countries have been slower to come to the table and do more. Now, Germany's got going after the Ukraine, and others have gotten going a little bit more. But the truth of the matter is that NATO has been an unbalanced alliance for a substantial period of time, and we tolerated it during the Cold War, but now I think that has to be re-examined. So it's not so much about getting out of NATO, but you have to use some sort of leverage and negotiating tactic to force countries that have massive social safety nets to spend a little bit more money on their own defense.
So you see it as negotiating. I mean, I know you.
Dude, that woman looks cute in that fucking thing.
To withdraw the country from NATO.
Sure.
You did that because you were worried about Trump?
No, I think that Congress has an important
What is her name again?
Which is basically a treaty. But by the same token, I would tell you, and I think, by the way, Trump is not the first president in American history. Virtually every president in American history has complained about the Europeans not spending more. And why would they? They have these massive social safety net programs and they don't want to take money out of that and put more into their defense. Some of these countries are highly capable of doing more. You look at the
I think I'm too high to understand where you're trying to go, sir. I just think of you as being a pathetic little lapdog bitch. You're gonna get a little pillow with a leash.
Every country has to do their part, and that's what he's saying. And I think he should have as much leverage as possible to get that done.
So you're sitting here, you're a surrogate for the former president. This is the most important event of this campaign so far. There's supposed to be another debate. We don't know if there will be. This might be it. Are you the VP?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that, and no one's told me I am. I haven't had any reason to think they've even been thinking about it this week. But we'll know who it is at some point in the next 2 weeks. And the good news for Republicans, and I'm sure you've had others on the air tell you the same thing, but it's the truth. We have 8 or 9 people I think who do a great job. It really comes down to who the president thinks would do a good job. And either way, whether I'm in the Senate or I get a chance to serve in the executive branch, I want to be a part of these issues that we're facing at this moment in our nation's history because they're that important. But that's his decision to make.
So can I ask you, because there's one thing I want to get, you and the president, former president, both live in Florida.
Yeah.
Now, according to
That was an honest
state
answer.
electors, has ruled for president and vice president, one of whom shall not be an inhabitant of the same state with themselves.
Oh,
So
that's still in there?
that's still in there. So Florida, you can't get the 30 electoral college votes in Florida if you've got 2 people from Florida on the ticket. So would you move? Would you establish a residency somewhere else?
Oh, yeah.
We can talk about that. No, the job has not been offered me. I am not the vice presidential choice. No one is right now. And we'll cross bridges when we get to them. Tonight is about the debate. I'm not trying to evade you. I honestly don't know who he's going to pick. And, you know, those are things that...
Yeah, I've heard that that's like a constitutional issue.
They're candidates possible, but ultimately, I think, and I'm not trying to get back...
But it's not as though Trump gives a shit about that. So
I don't know, I hope it's not, but it is. I think there's an element here that, look, I don't take glee in it in saying this, but clearly the president struggled tonight, and I do worry about the impact that has in Beijing, in Tehran, in places where I've been in Moscow, where adversaries see that and perhaps feel emboldened to be more adventurous in their attitudes towards the United States because they feel our president is somehow struggling. And that, you know, that's not a good thing for our country. And I think that was painfully obvious tonight. And I haven't watched what people are saying on the shows, but we saw that tonight. And I do think that's a factor here. I really do.
All right, Senator Rubio, I appreciate your time and thank you very much. And coming up, the results of our flash poll, the voters' opinions of tonight's debate. Our David Challian is going to join us with all of the numbers, the details, the analysis.
Damn, I think she's got a couple of kids too. She looks hot in that fucking crazy cool outfit. I love it. Damn.
It's a little story. And you're about to empower to make it. You know you used to.
Alright. Almost sign off. It was fun, nobody. Thanks for not watching. Maybe someone watches this at some point and realizes, holy shit, this guy could predict the future. Oops.
The 2 candidates tonight. Before we introduce them, we want to share the rules of the debate with the audience.
Well, it's a little better.
And 1 minute each for responses and rebuttals. An additional minute for follow-up comments or response is at the moderator.
I missed it!
When it's time for candidate.
Okay. Oh, there we go. See? This is why it took so long, because it's 16 gigabytes. This is a fast computer.
He's been asked 2 questions. He just lost the election.
Oh boy, oh boy.
He just lost the election.
This is why it
Right
took
now,
so
as we
goddamn
speak,
long
there is
to
a
edit
deep-
this thing.
a-
Because it just even getting it to play the sound. Look at it. I just clicked there. Now it's going to go like that again. See that?
Something.
This is why it took. Oh, it's actually running fast. This is fast. This is fast.
Fucking.
First of all,
This is why it took so long, because I was recording from 2 different sources, and that
Adderall's not gonna help. He needs
something to do, and they were recording at different speeds. So, that's why sometimes my things that they say time doesn't always sync up. So eventually I just got sick of it, and I gave up on posting the last little bit of the post-debate analysis because it cut and then I couldn't find where the location that it restarted was again. Oh, see, here we go. Here we go. This is, again, what I'm talking about. Look at, I had to separate the audio from the video, and I had to balance the sound on all of them. This is why this took 2 months. So, yes, I did
post this to Facebook, but of course no one watched it, and it was very sad for me because I'm sure I hope someone watches this. Go through driving contest. Shit, whatever. I don't know. It's like Coldplay wannabe.
I'm the motherfucker.
It's horrible. Anyway,
Who's the motherfucker?